Growing up, we've all been curious about what goes on behind the scenes with superheroes. How did Batman become Batman? How did Gotham City turn into the urban chaos we know today? And most importantly, what was life like in the city before the Bat showed up to save everyone? That's exactly the void that the series Gotham came to fill. It's a story that shows the origin of pretty much every iconic villain from the Batman universe, from the Joker and the Penguin to Catwoman and the Riddler. But what really sets it apart is that the person at the center of it all isn't Bruce Wayne, but Detective James Gordon. The series kicks off with the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents and follows Gordon as he tries to solve the case while navigating the rampant corruption within the Gotham police force. And man, when I say corruption, I mean real corruption. Everyone's on someone's payroll, from the cops to the politicians. What's cool about the series is that it isn't afraid to show the dark and gritty side of Gotham. There are no caped heroes saving the day here. It's just ordinary people trying to survive in a city that's literally rotting from the inside out. Gordon is pretty much the only guy trying to do the right thing in a place where that can get you killed. That's why today on the channel, we're talking about Gotham, the series loved by many and hated by others. We open on the rooftops of Gotham with Selina Kyle, a fledgling version of Catwoman. She heads down to the street, rips a woman's grocery bag to steal a carton of milk, and pickpockets a man. She manages to escape her pursuers by climbing a fire escape where she shares the milk with a stray cat. It's from this very fire escape that she witnesses a tragedy. A family, the Waynes, leaves a movie theater and is confronted by a mugger. The father, Thomas, hands over his wallet, but when the thief goes for the pearl necklace of the mother, Martha, he shoots them both. He stares at their son Bruce for a second and flees, leaving the boy in shock amidst his parents' bodies. Cut to the police precinct, where we meet Detective Jim Gordon, the only honest cop in the city. He de-escalates a hostage crisis by tricking a criminal with a vial of aspirin. His partner, Harvey Bullock, is his opposite, a cynical cop who thinks Gordon should have just let everyone open fire. The two are assigned the Wayne double homicide. Gordon manages to connect with the traumatized Bruce, promising to find the killer, but the investigation turns into a circus. They visit crime boss Fish Mooney but get nothing. Then, out of nowhere, she gives them a tip that leads to a suspect, Mario Pepper. Bullock and Gordon raid his apartment. The guy runs. Bullock kills him. And, surprise, they find the pearl necklace. Case closed. Except it's not. Fish's lackey, Oswald Cobblepot, tells other detectives that the whole thing was a setup. Gordon, sensing something is wrong, reopens the investigation, confronts Fish Mooney, and ends up captured. Bullock goes to save him, but they both end up hanging upside down, about to be turned into ground meat. That's when the real kingpin, Carmine Falcone, shows up. He saves the detectives and explains the rules of the game. In Gotham, he's the one who maintains order. To prove his loyalty, Gordon is ordered to execute Oswald. He takes the man to a pier, fakes shooting him in the head, and shoves him into the river, telling him to never come back. In the end, Gordon tells Bruce the truth, and Oswald, emerging from the water, swears that one day he will rule Gotham. On the streets of Gotham, a bizarre duo, Patty and Doug, pose as volunteers to kidnap street kids for a man known as the Dollmaker. A boy named Mackie manages to escape, becoming Gordon and Bullock's only witness. Meanwhile, Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, is hitchhiking his way back to the city. When some guys mock his walk, he doesn't hesitate. He kills one and kidnaps the other. He's clearly not messing around. Back at the precinct, forensic scientist Edward Nigma finds a strange substance on Mackie's clothes, proving the boy wasn't making things up. The investigation gains traction, but Gordon's fiancée, Barbara Keene, decides to leak the kidnapping story to the press, putting immense pressure on the police. In the underworld, the Cold War continues. Don Falcone confronts Fish Mooney about her plans to betray him, something the Penguin gossiped about before he was killed. Fish, of course, denies everything and continues plotting her takeover. Gordon and Bullock manage to rescue a group of children, but the kidnappers escape. The problem is the kids, including our acquaintance Selina Kyle, are put on a bus to a juvenile detention center, which is promptly hijacked by Patty and Doug. They take everyone to a shipping container, ready to send them off to the Dollmaker. In a last-minute rescue, Gordon and Bullock, following a tip, raid the location, arrest the villains, and save the children. With everything settled, Selina, now safe at the precinct, approaches Gordon and reveals she knows who killed Bruce Wayne's parents. Oswald Cobblepot is back in Gotham, and while looking for a fresh start, he sees a news report on TV about a corrupt businessman. Moments later, that same businessman is tied to a weather balloon by a man in a pig mask and sent into the sky. A new vigilante is born, the Balloonman.
Above Gotham, attached to a weather balloon.
Gordon and Bullock are assigned to the case, which basically consists of scraping corrupt billionaires off the pavement. At the same time, Gordon tries to confirm Selina's story about the Wayne murder. He even finds the wallet she stole and threw down a sewer grate, proving she was there, but the girl is as slippery as an eel and escapes. Meanwhile, Oswald, using the alias Paolo, lands a job as a dishwasher in a restaurant. What he doesn't expect is that the place is the base of operations for Salvatore Maroni, Falcone's rival mob boss. Maroni takes a liking to the ambitious Paolo and takes him under his wing. Elsewhere in the city, Barbara's ex-girlfriend, Detective Montoya, tries to convince her that Gordon is corrupt and was involved in Oswald's death. The stage is set for a personal conflict. The hunt for the Balloonman intensifies after he kills a corrupt lieutenant. Gordon and Bullock discover the Vigilante is a social worker named Davis Lamond. They corner him, and a bizarre fight breaks out that ends with Gordon and the villain dangling from a rising balloon until Bullock pops it with a single shot. With the Balloon Man captured, Bruce Wayne, watching everything on TV, concludes that even if the man wanted to do good, killing people makes him a criminal. The mini Batman is already forming his moral code.
He killed people. That made him a criminal too.
That's very true.
The night ends with a knock on Gordon's apartment door. It's Oswald Cobblepot, a smile on his face, looking for his new best friend. Gordon confronts the Penguin at his apartment. The Penguin reveals a mob war is about to break out over the Arkham plan, a project backed by none other than Falcone and Mayor James. And things get serious fast. A city councilman is dispatched by a hired hitman. Gordon and Bullock start investigating, suspecting that the conflict between Falcone and Maroni has finally exploded. The only clue they find is a piece of paper with the initials CLM. Meanwhile, Maroni's restaurant is attacked by masked men. The Penguin, acting as an unlikely hero, protects the money and, with the manager's accidental death during the attack, ends up getting promoted. Some luck, huh? Gordon discovers that the hitman is using the name of a man who died 5 years ago. Putting the pieces together, he realizes that CLM are the initials of the cops assigned to protect the mayor. He's the target. Gordon rushes in and engages the assassin in a tense fight until Bullock arrives to back him up. It's game over for the killer. Elsewhere in the city, Fish Mooney is holding a sort of criminal The Voice to choose a new employee for her club, and a girl named Liza wins the spot. And to top it all off, we discover that the Penguin hired the men to stage the attack to get the promotion. Afterwards, like a good host, he serves them poisoned cannolis and offs them. Criminal genius or psychopath? The jury's still out. Bruce Wayne, our mini Batman, continues his private investigation, trying to understand how the Falcone and Maroni families got their hands on the Arkham project without anyone from his father's company doing anything. Meanwhile, a guy with a deformed ear starts distributing a new drug called Viper. The effect is like a video game cheat, instant super strength. The problem is, the drug makes you desperate for milk and then melts your bones from the inside, causing a very bizarre death. Gordon and Bullock take the case after one of the users rips an ATM straight out of a wall with his bare hands. At the same time, the Penguin is in a tight spot. Maroni finds out he used to work for Fish Mooney and puts him on the spot, calling Gordon to confirm the story. Unsure of what the Penguin has already told him, Gordon decides to bet on honesty and tells the whole truth about the fake execution, and it works. Maroni is thrilled and realizes the Penguin is a secret weapon against Falcone. Gordon discovers that the creator of Viper is a disgruntled ex-scientist who plans to attack a Wayne Enterprises charity event to expose the company's dirty laundry. He manages to evacuate the venue in time and confronts the scientist, who, before jumping from the building, drops one last clue: Warehouse 39. The warehouse, of course, is empty, and a Wayne executive seems to be behind the cleanup. To wrap things up, the Penguin helps Maroni rob Falcone's casino, and Liza, Fish's spy, orchestrates an accidental encounter with Falcone, charming him with a song his mother used to sing. Fish's plan to take down the boss is in motion. 10 years ago, a serial killer known as the Spirit of the Goat terrorized Gotham's elite. Detective Bullock and his partner Dix cornered him. Bullock, playing the impatient hero, went in without waiting for backup, which resulted in his partner being crippled and the killer dead.
Come back from this!
Now, in the present, a new crime occurs with the exact same MO as the goat, including a penny sewn into the nape of the victim's neck, a detail only Bullock and his partner knew. Bullock gets rattled and starts to think his old partner's conspiracy theory makes sense. Meanwhile, Gordon's personal life falls apart. Detectives Montoya and Allen find a witness who claims to have seen Gordon kill the Penguin, and they arrest him. Barbara, his fiancée, abandons him in the middle of the chaos. Bullock and Gordon manage to capture the new goat, but Bullock has a breakthrough and connects the dots. The therapist of the victims' families, Dr. Marks, was using hypnosis to turn ordinary people into killers as a form of bizarre social justice against the rich. Bullock confronts the doctor, who admits everything and tries to get one of her patients to kill him, but he manages to neutralize them both. Bullock rushes to the precinct to explain everything, but finds Gordon being taken to a cell. He tries to defend his partner, but the argument is cut short by a shocking appearance. At the precinct entrance, the Penguin appears very much alive and with a mischievous smile. The case against Gordon instantly falls apart. Bullock, realizing Gordon lied and that they are both now in Falcone's crosshairs, loses his mind and lunges at his partner's throat. Oswald Cobblepot's return to Gotham is the spark that ignites the chaos. When Fish Mooney finds out he's alive, she's furious and sends Butch to bring Gordon in for a little chat. In the police locker room, Bullock, fed up with the situation, decks Gordon and points a gun at him, thinking that killing his partner will appease Don Falcone. Gordon admits he made a mistake, but says he has a plan and needs help. Bullock, however, already considers them both dead men. Gordon rushes to Barbara's apartment and finds her being held hostage by Butch. He convinces the henchmen to lower their weapons and takes Barbara to the bus station, begging her to disappear for a few days. Then, as if nothing happened, he returns to the precinct and requests blank arrest warrant. The targets, the mayor and Falcone himself. Meanwhile, Falcone dismisses Fish and Nikolai's concerns about the Penguin, showing a calmness that makes Fish suspicious. Captain Essen also thinks Gordon has lost his mind, but he refuses to run. Then things get serious. Victor Zsasz, a stylish bald man with 2 female assistants, storms the precinct to take Gordon. The rest of the cops bolt, and in the middle of the shootout, Gordon is wounded but manages to escape with help from Montoya and Allen. The gang war heats up. Fish tries to trade the Penguin to Maroni, who refuses. In retaliation, Maroni's gang, led by the Penguin, attacks one of Falcone's warehouses. And kills Nikolai. The Penguin uses the chaos to eliminate a traitor and prove he's a master manipulator. Gordon and Bullock, now an unlikely team, raid Falcone's mansion, but the Kingpin has an ace up his sleeve. Barbara, who never left town, is there as a hostage. Gordon is forced to stand down, but the big reveal comes at the end. A flashback shows that the Penguin planned everything. He turned himself in to Falcone, snitched on Fish and Nikolai's plan, and suggested that Gordon be the one to kill him, all to become the perfect spy inside Maroni's gang. The man is playing 4D chess. An underground fight club is underway, like a Wall Street version of Fight Club. The next day, one of the fighters turns up dead, and Nigma finds a little surprise in his mouth, his opponent's thumb. Meanwhile, the Penguin tries to make peace with Fish by giving her a brooch. Her response? She stabs his hand with the very same brooch. Message received. The murder investigation leads Gordon and Bullock to an investment firm where all the employees look like they've just been in a brawl. The boss, Sionis, is a strange guy who decorates his office with masks and medieval weapons. They soon uncover the scheme. The job interviews are actually fights to the death. At the same time, Alfred forces Bruce to go back to school, where he becomes the target of a bully named Tommy Elliott. After getting beaten up, Alfred basically gives Bruce the green light to fight back, and he obeys, using his father's watch as a makeshift knuckle duster to teach the kid a lesson.
Are you crazy? Don't talk about my mother! Master Bruce!
Things get complicated when Gordon is captured by Sionis and forced to fight for his life against 3 candidates desperate for a job. Seeing that his partner is missing, Bullock, in a rare moment of heroism, gives an epic speech and convinces the entire precinct to help search for him. Gordon, obviously, not only survives but defeats all 3, and even gives Sionis a beating, just in time for the cavalry to arrive. In the midst of all this, the Penguin discovers that Liza, Falcone's new protege, is actually a spy for Fish. To close things out, Barbara, who has been in a panic since the kidnapping, finally bolts, leaving Jim with a goodbye note, and as if that weren't enough, Selena Kyle shows up at the mansion mansion, and Bruce, inspired by recent events, asks Alfred to teach him how to really fight. Batman is beginning to be born. Jim arrives home to find a goodbye note from Barbara. His solution for heartbreak? Taking Selina Kyle, the witness to the Wayne murders, to live at Wayne Manor. Alfred doesn't like the idea, but Bruce agrees to take the girl in. Meanwhile, a bomb specialist, Ian Hargrove, is kidnapped by Russian mobsters, and we meet Harvey Dent, an idealistic prosecutor who wants to use Selina as bait to catch a corrupt businessman named Lovecraft. At the manor, the dynamic between Bruce and Selina is a cat-and-mouse game. She teases him, he tries to be serious, but slowly they connect. The high point is a food fight that elicits Bruce's first smile in weeks. Gordon and Bullock race against time to find Hargrove. Thanks to a clue from Nigma, they locate the Russians, but the criminals manage to escape with the hostage and the bomb. Their plan is to rob a secret Falcone vault, hidden in an old armory. The gang manages to crack the safe, but during their getaway, the ambulance full of money explodes. We discover that Fish Mooney orchestrated the whole thing.
A hell of a lot of money we just lost.
Mad? I couldn't be happier. The point wasn't to steal that money, Butch. It was to hurt Falcone.
Not to get the money, but just to watch the world burn and destroy Falcone's cash. In the midst of all this action, the Penguin corners Liza and reveals he knows she's Fish's spy, showing that he has his own secret weapon saved for the right moment. And to end on a high note, the mayor decides to reopen Arkham Asylum to house the criminally insane. The final bombshell. Jim leaves a sentimental voicemail for Barbara, who listens to the whole thing. In bed, next to Detective Montoya, a sinister assassin breaks into Wayne Manor. She tries to grab Bruce, but the kid is on a journey and doesn't want to run, so Selina pushes him out the window to practice his future rooftop escapes. Alfred takes a bullet protecting them, and Gordon arrives to investigate. Selina, trying to protect Bruce, is betrayed by Harvey Dent, who leaks her name in a rumor. Selina tries to ditch Bruce, but the mini Batman is stubborn as hell, jumps off a building, and convinces her not to leave. Meanwhile, the Penguin is scheming, and he tells Falcone that Fish Mooney was the one who stole his money. Things get crazy when the assassin corners Gordon, kills the businessman he was about to interrogate, and frames Gordon for it. In the end, the assassin finds Bruce but glitches and simply leaves. Gordon gets screwed over, is demoted, and sent to be a security guard at Arkham Asylum. He discovers a patient was fried with electroshock therapy, but the asylum's director won't let him call the police. Fish Mooney continues to plot against Falcone, but the Penguin has already meddled in her plans. Another patient is attacked, and Gordon, who is not in the mood for games, calls Bullock for help. A nurse, who is actually a patient in disguise, goes berserk and starts a riot, but she was also attacked, so the detective duo has the wrong culprit. The real villain, Jack Gruber, uses the chaos to disappear. Maroni shows up to bail the Penguin out of jail, and Butch, Fish's right-hand man, pretends to ally with a rival and takes the guy out. The conspiracy is in full swing. The guy who escaped from Arkham, Jack Gruber, has become the electrocutioner in the media. Commissioner Loeb makes a shady deal. If Gordon catches the villain in 24 hours, he gets his badge back. Gordon, no fool, uses Maroni as bait to lure out the electrocutioner. The plan works. The villain raids the precinct, but Gordon pulls a genius move, wears rubber-soled shoes, and short-circuits him.
I do hate to lose.
But the real tension is in the mob. The Penguin, Gotham's chattiest bird, tells Falcone that his girlfriend Liza is a spy for Fish. Victor Zsasz storms her club, and in front of everyone, Falcone strangles Liza, who looked like his mother, for being used to betray him. Falcone humiliates Fish, and the Penguin revels in his old boss's downfall. Fish and Butch are taken away, and the Penguin, now the boss, takes over her territory. The little Penguin's rise is in full swing. Fish Mooney is tied up and tortured, while Gordon, keeping an eye on GCPD corruption, investigates the murder of a witness inside the precinct itself. Bruce and Alfred return from their trip, and Selina reveals she lied. She didn't see who killed his parents. The Penguin, overjoyed, is enjoying his new life as the boss of Fish's old club, a gift from Falcone. Fish, being a badass, manages to escape her torturers with only one thing on her mind: revenge. She storms the club to get the Penguin, but Zsasz shows up and the party turns into a firefight. Fish bolts, but her loyal henchman Butch gets captured. Desperate to prove the police corruption, Gordon allies with the Penguin, who in exchange for help, provides a tape incriminating Officer Flass, who is then arrested. Gordon realizes that to fight Gotham's monsters, he'll have to make deals with other monsters, and that scares him. Fish says goodbye to Bullock, promises to return return for revenge and flees. Don Maroney and the Penguin are celebrating Fish's downfall, but she calls him and reveals that the Penguin is a double agent for Falcone. Maroney, furious, takes the Penguin to be crushed in a car compactor, but the Penguin, ever the sly one, threatens the operator with Falcone's wrath and escapes. Meanwhile, Selina confesses to Gordon that she lied about the Wayne's killer. Bruce, upset, releases the detective from his promise to find the culprit. A new wave of crime terrorizes Gotham. The phobia killer, a guy in a pig mask, is killing people with their fears. Gordon and Bullock find and take him down, but Gordon suspects there are more people involved. Nigma is suspended for performing autopsies on his own, but Dr. Leslie Tompkins is hired as the new medical examiner and discovers the killer was extracting the victim's adrenal glands. In the end, the real villain, a man named Crane, manages to escape, and Fish's ship is attacked by pirates. The plot has officially got off the rails. The villain, Gerald Crane, and his son Jonathan continue their hunt for adrenal glands to create a serum. Fish, trapped in a grim underground facility, uses her cunning to kill the leader and seize power. The Penguin, rewarded by Falcone, reopens Fish's old club and warns Gordon that one day he'll need his help. The rivalry between Falcone and Maroney grows, with Falcone revealing he has a judge as a hostage to make it clear who's in charge. Gordon and Bullock discover that Crane's plan is to use the serum to eliminate fear in himself and his son. They arrive at the Crane's house. Gerald is killed in the confrontation, but they find Jonathan convulsing. The boy, having overdosed on the serum, has his brain permanently altered and now suffers from constant hallucinations of a giant scarecrow. This is how the Scarecrow is born. Meanwhile, Bruce continues his journey to become Batman, and the people in Fish's underground prison capture a new inmate, a woman with no eyes. Things are getting crazier and crazier in Gotham. Jim and Leslie are trying to have a romantic date at the circus, but the peace is short-lived. Out of nowhere, a clown brawl erupts in the middle of the ring, and Jim, being a good cop, pulls his badge to break up the party. Meanwhile, at the Penguins Club, his mother gets on stage to sing and, well, let's just say she's no Adele. The audience boos, and the Penguin loses his mind, attacking a drunk in front of everyone. He definitely doesn't take criticism of his mommy well. The circus brawl is actually over a missing trapeze artist, Lila Valeska. Jim and Leslie go to her trailer and find her son Jerome, who seems very worried about his mother. But Jim's cop intuition goes off, and soon after, they find Lila's body. In the underworld, Fish Mooney continues her campaign for prison mayor. She discovers the prisoners are being used as a human spare parts inventory and convinces everyone to unite as a family to survive. Back at the precinct, a blind psychic shows up with a message from beyond, supposedly from Lila. The clue leads Jim and Leslie to a bloody hatchet. Jim, who doesn't believe in ghosts, realizes it's a setup.
Hey, Sarge, I'm gonna need a couple of mobile units to pick some people up. But listen, they need careful handling.
He confronts the psychic, who is actually Jerome's biological father, and accuses the boy. Jerome starts to cry, but the crying turns into a psychotic laugh.
My mother was a cold-hearted whore who never loved anyone.
He confesses he killed his mother because she wouldn't stop nagging him to do the dishes. In the midst of all this madness, Barbara returns to Gotham and sees Jim kissing Leslie, and the Penguin receives a gift from Falcone, Butch, completely brainwashed, to be his new right-hand man. A new gang emerges in Gotham, the Red Hoods. The leader, a guy named Gus, gets a confidence boost from the mask, dodging bullets and throwing money to the crowd like he's Robin Hood, but the leadership is unstable. A fellow gang member, Clyde, decides the Hood would look better on him, kills Gus, and takes his place. It's basically a deadly game of musical chairs for the power of the Hood. Meanwhile, at Wayne Manor, an old army buddy of Alfred's named Reggie shows up out of the blue, all banged up. Bruce, with his heart of gold, offers him shelter, but the guy is shadier than a $3 bill. He even teaches Bruce how to fight using dirty tricks. Elsewhere in the city, Fish Mooney is about to have her eyes gouged out by the manager of the organ harvesting prison. Her reaction? She grabs a spoon, scoops out her own eye, and crushes it on the floor in a "if I can't have it, no one can" moment. The night gets even worse. Alfred catches Reggie stealing from the house. The treacherous friend doesn't think twice and stabs Alfred in the gut, leaving him to die. Bruce finds him and makes a desperate call for help. The Red Hood gang doesn't have a happy ending either. The police corner them and shut down the party. In the end, a random kid finds the Hood's mask on the street, showing that the legend of the Red Hood is far from over. And Reggie, he goes straight to the Wayne Enterprises board to report everything he spied on. With With Alfred in the hospital recovering from the stabbing, Gordon has a new problem. Commissioner Loeb, who's more corrupt than a politician in an election year. Loeb has a file with dirt on every cop in Gotham, including Bullock. To turn the tables, Gordon needs to find an even bigger secret about the commissioner. And who does he call for this impossible mission? The Penguin, of course. The guy agrees instantly, but warns that he'll collect on the favor with interest.
Let's say for argument's sake, I could help you. What's in it for me?
I'll owe you a favor.
The treasure hunt leads the unlikely trio, Gordon, Bullock, and Penguin, to a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, guarded by an elderly couple who look like they're straight out of a horror movie. After a small scuffle, they go up to the attic and find Loeb's big secret, his daughter Miriam, whom he's kept hidden there for 20 years. The reason? She, who has serious mental issues, was the one who killed her own mother. It's the kind of family secret that destroys reputations. With this bombshell in hand, Gordon doesn't turn Loeb in. Instead, he blackmails him. In exchange for his silence, Gordon demands that Loeb clean up the police force, hand over Bullock's file, and support him as president of the union. It's a masterstroke. Meanwhile, Fish, after proving her worth by scooping out her own eye, is promoted to manager at the organ harvesting prison. Her prize is a beautiful ocean view, but she soon discovers the catch. The facility is on a remote island. Basically, she's traded one cage for a bigger one. On Dr. Dollmaker's island, Fish Mooney is playing nice, but only so she can make a break for it. The Penguin, on the other hand, is working to buy a bar, and to do so, he has his henchmen cut off a guy's fingers. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne and Selina find the man who stabbed Alfred. He confesses he was hired by Wayne Enterprises, but Selina, with no time for talk, shoves the guy out a window. End of story. At the precinct, Gordon investigates the murder of a girl and discovers they're dealing with the Ogre, a serial killer who takes revenge on the loved ones of anyone who investigates him. Commissioner Loeb set Gordon up, who is now furious and vows to take down the Ogre and then Loeb. Bruce Wayne is pissed at Selina for killing Reggie, but they embark on a new mission, to steal a key to a Wayne Enterprises safe during a charity gala. Meanwhile, Gordon, already in soft heart mode, asks Leslie to leave the city, and the two share a kiss. The Ogre finds Barbara and decides not to kill her because he identifies with her emptiness. At the gala, Bruce and Selina get the key, and she sees Barbara leaving with the Ogre.
What is it?
Nothing.
Gordon discovers the Ogre is actually Jason Skolimsky. To top it all off, Nigma, the future Riddler, gets into a fight with Kristen Kringle's abusive boyfriend and ends up stabbing him. Nigma's villainous side is being born. In the apartment, Barbara discovers the Ogre's torture room, and instead of freaking out, she's fascinated. Gordon, desperate, asks the Penguin for a favor, who gets him an invitation to the Foxglove, a sadomasochism club. The key Bruce and Selina stole is useless, and the Wayne Enterprises executive admits that Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, knew about the corruption, but Lucius Fox, a family friend, whispers to Bruce that his father was a stoic and fought against the system. The Penguin, always one step ahead, stages a fake assassination attempt on Maroni to start a war between the two crime families. Gordon and Bullock rush to Barbara's parents' house, but it's too late. Her parents are dead. Gordon confronts the Ogre and shoots him in the head. The Ogre is dead, but Barbara is in shock. The gang war explodes across the city, and the Penguin, having the last laugh, celebrates his victory. Gotham is in chaos with the Penguin's gang war. Fish Mooney makes a dramatic return and finds Selina. 2 weeks later, the Penguin tries to kill Falcone, but Gordon shows up just in time and stops the crime. Gordon decides to help Falcone escape to save the city from war, and confronts Commissioner Loeb and Maroni. They find Fish, who now has a new gang. Maroni taunts her and gets a bullet in the head for his trouble. Elsewhere, Barbara, now completely unhinged, confesses to Leslie that she killed her own parents, then lunges at her with a knife. The Penguin, on a rooftop, pushes Fish off the building and screams,
I'm the king of Gotham! I'm the king of Gotham!
and his rise is complete. And to cap it off, Bruce finds a remote control that reveals a secret passage, the future Batcave. Everyone's life has been turned upside down. The Penguin is the new king of crime. Gordon has been demoted, and Barbara is institutionalized at Arkham Asylum. Gordon, desperate, asks the Penguin for help, who in return asks him to collect a debt. Gordon does what he has to do, and the Penguin, with Zass's help, blackmails Loeb. Gordon is back on the police force, now with Captain Essen in charge. At Arkham Asylum, a mysterious team, led by Theo Galavan, breaks into the facility and kidnaps Barbara and Jerome Valeska, a future villain, along with other inmates. His plan? To assemble a team of supervillains to terrorize Gotham. Meanwhile, Bruce, obsessed with finding the truth about his father, builds a homemade bomb, blows open the secret door, and finds a note from his father, warning him that the truth about Wayne Enterprises will change his life forever. Theo Galavan unleashes the Maniacs, his team of villains, on Gotham. The leader is Jerome, who makes his debut by throwing people off a building to spell his name on the pavement. It's chaos. Bruce, still in hero mode, fires Alfred for smashing his father's computer. The mayhem continues. Jerome hijacks a bus full of cheerleaders. Gordon manages to prevent the tragedy, but Tabitha, Galavan's right-hand woman, snipes the only witness from a distance. After an emotional talk, Bruce and Alfred make up. Bruce agrees to train, and Alfred promises to get the computer fixed with Lucius Fox. Jerome, with his team, storms the police precinct. He corners Commissioner Essen, who taunts him, saying he'll be forgotten.
You'll be nothing. No one will even remember your name.
No.
Enraged, he kills her. Gordon arrives, finds the massacre, and Bullock, mourning, returns to active duty. Jerome gloats, promising that the chaos has only just begun. With the city in a panic, Gordon and Bullock hunt for Jerome, who kills his own father, Paul Cicero, and frames the old man. Before dying, Cicero delivers a prophecy. Jerome will be a curse upon Gotham, a legacy of madness and death. Jerome disguises himself as a magician at a charity gala. Leslie recognizes Barbara and calls Gordon. Jerome kills the deputy mayor on stage, and Gordon arrives just in time but is lured into a trap. When Jerome threatens to kill Bruce, Theo Galavan, who has been playing the innocent bystander all along, reappears, kills Jerome, and becomes a hero to the city. Galavan's plan worked perfectly, and Cicero's prophecy comes true as the citizens of Gotham, inspired by Jerome's madness, begin to commit crimes of their own. The final shot is of Jerome's body with a frozen smile on his face, ready to be immortalized as the Joker. Penguin is furious. He crashes a meeting of criminals, shotgun in hand, enraged that Jerome has messed up everyone's business. He lays down the law. From now on, any major crime has to go through him. That's when Tabitha shows up and invites him for a chat with her brother, Theo Galavan. At the precinct, a new sheriff is in town, Captain Nathaniel Barnes. The guy is a hardliner, immediately firing corrupt cops and promoting Jim Gordon to his second-in-command. Barnes wants to form a strike force with fresh-faced, untainted recruits. During the meeting, Penguin immediately figures out that Galavan is the mastermind behind the Arkham breakout. Tabitha throws it in his face that he's not the king of Gotham, but the king of garbage. Things get worse when Galavan reveals he has kidnapped Penguin's mother and blackmails him.
She's being kind of dull right now, but sometimes she cries and bangs on the door.
Either he kills the other mayoral candidates, or his mother is history. To boost his own profile, Theo even fakes an assassination attempt on himself and announces his candidacy. Left with no choice, Penguin kills the first candidate. In another corner of the city, Alfred slaps Selina for killing Reggie and forbids her from seeing Bruce, who now has a new love interest, Silver St. Cloud, Theo's niece. Nigma finally lands a date with Mistress Kringle, and after an awkward conversation about having a voice in his head, the two hit it off. The new strike force springs into action when Victor Zsasz attacks another candidate. They save the man, but Zsasz escapes. Jim confronts Penguin but can't arrest him because of the favor he owes. Barnes declares war on Penguin, while a desperate Oswald screams and throws his glass into the fire. Penguin delivers a chest to Theo Galavan, hoping to free his mother, but Theo refuses. He's still useful. Inside the chest is Sid Bunderslaw, a Wayne Enterprises executive. To extract the company's secrets, Tabitha gouges out the man's eye. Sinister. Meanwhile, Gordon's strike force raids one of Penguin's safe houses, but is met with a rocket launcher. Things are getting serious. To get revenge on Galavan, Butch seeks out Selina and asks for her help in hiring the Pike brothers, a gang of arsonists. There, we meet their sister, Bridget, who is essentially the family's Cinderella. During a job, one of the Pike brothers is burned to death, and the others force Bridget to take over. She builds a fireproof suit and, during an arson, steals an ancient knife for Galavan. Penguin receives the knife and, intrigued, calls upon an old woman who knows everything about throughout Gotham's history. The knife belonged to the Wayne family and was used to punish Caleb Dumas, an ancestor of Galavan, whose hand was cut off after an affair with a Wayne girl. The Dumas family was exiled and changed their name to Galavan. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and this one has been freezing for centuries. Understanding that Theo's revenge is personal, Penguin comes up with a crazy plan. He cuts off Butch's hands so he can infiltrate Galavan's organization by faking a betrayal.
How?
The strike force sets a trap for the arsonists, but Bridget, now in her suit and armed with a flamethrower, fights back. In the chaos, she accidentally kills a police officer and escapes with Selina's help. The officer's death shakes Gordon, who, in desperation, agrees to endorse Theo's campaign in exchange for help cleaning up the city. In the end, Theo meets with a mysterious monk. He hands over the knife and reveals his final plan. Bruce Wayne will die and Warrior Brothers Dollmaker. Butch, now one hand short, goes to ask Theo Galavan for a job, who happens to be torturing a councilman in the back of his office. Perfectly normal people. Meanwhile, Gordon is investigating a dead cop, and his persuasive methods lead his own team to report him. Selina, in full Robin Hood mode, teams up with Bridget and her flamethrower to rob an auction for trafficked girls. Bridget gets carried away, gets badly burned, and is taken to Indian Hill, a secret Wayne Enterprises facility, where we learn she survived and is being transformed into Firefly. Gordon tells Selina that Bridget died, and she reveals it was Penguin on Galavan's orders, who hired the guys that hurt her. Ed confesses the crime to Kristen and, in a panic, accidentally strangles her. The transformations of the Riddler and Firefly are underway. Penguin goes to rescue his mother, but it's a trap. Theo and Tabitha Galavan appear, and Tabitha kills his mother in front of him. Penguin, blind with rage, escapes. Meanwhile, Nigma wakes up to find that his alter ego has hidden Kristen's body, and he must solve a riddle to find it. Theo Galavan becomes the new mayor, and uses his power to hunt down Penguin, accusing him of attempted murder. Gordon realizes something is wrong. Butch, Penguin's right-hand man, confesses to Gordon that Galavan kidnapped Penguin's mother. In the end, a victory party turns into pandemonium when Penguin lookalikes storm the event, guns blazing. Tabitha shoots Penguin, who uses the opportunity to escape. Nigma, after nearly being caught, fully embraces his dark side and, with a smile on his face, turns on a bone saw to dispose of the body. The Riddler's transformation is complete. Barbara, who's completely unhinged, turns herself in at the precinct, and Gordon, against his better judgment, agrees to go with her to a special place. Theo Galavan offers Bruce Wayne the name of his parents' killer in exchange for his company. Gordon's trip with Barbara goes wrong. They are ambushed.
You still love me.
Oh, for God's sakes, Barbara, I don't give a...
And Gordon wakes up tied up in a cathedral with Barbara in a wedding dress and Leslie tied up as the guest of honor. In the midst of the chaos, the police raid the cathedral. Barbara falls from a stained glass window, but survives. Before falling, she reveals the mayor's location, confirming that Galavan is the villain. Just as Bruce is about to sign the papers, Gordon and the police arrive and arrest Galavan. As a final act of spite, Theo throws the envelope with the killer's name into the fire. And to top it off, Nigma, who was in the woods getting rid of Kristen's body, finds a wounded Penguin, and they become an unexpected duo. Galavan is in jail, but Tabitha has already hired an assassin, the Lady, to get rid of Jim Gordon. Penguin's man, who is now half mad, is sedated by Nigma. Alfred doesn't want Bruce Wayne getting involved with Silver St. Cloud, but the boy disobeys and goes after her to find out who killed his parents. Gordon is attacked in an elevator by an assassin and wins, but the Lady, realizing the failure, sends a new villain, Eduardo Flamingo. Flamingo attacks Gordon, but he manages to restrain himself and doesn't kill the man. The problem is, back at the precinct, Flamingo bites and kills Officer Parks. Monks from the Order of St. Dumas are already on a killing spree in Gotham. Galavan is released from jail during his trial because a former mayor changes his testimony. A furious Gordon punches Galavan and ends up being kidnapped by corrupt cops, but Penguin shows up and saves him. Meanwhile, Bruce and Selina Kyle hatch a plan to get the truth out of Silver St. Cloud. They pretend a man, the Knife, is going to torture Bruce. Silver, desperate, confesses she doesn't know the name of the Wayne's killer and that it was all Galavan's plan. She reveals the made-up name is M. Malone. Bruce and Selina then appear and reveal the charade. Alfred, at Galavan's apartment, gets into an epic fight with Tabitha and is injured. Galavan, now free, storms Wayne Manor and confronts Bruce. Galavan kidnaps Bruce, takes him to his apartment, and reveals that his real name is Dumas and that his family has a revenge plot against the Waynes. The plan is to sacrifice Bruce. Gordon wakes up at Nigma's place and teams up with Penguin to rescue Bruce. Leslie reveals she's pregnant.
I'm pregnant.
But rescuing Bruce is the priority. They invade Galavan Tower with the help of Selina, who knows a secret passage. During the shootout, Tabitha betrays Galavan, knocks him out, and flees with Silver. Gordon arrests Galavan, but Penguin, with Gordon's help, takes the villain to the docks. Gordon, after fighting his dark side all season, gives in and lets Penguin kill Galavan with a baseball bat. To seal his new persona, Gordon delivers the finishing shot. Galavan's body ends up in a sinister lab called Indian Hill, and a new villain, who freezes his victims, appears in the city. Mr. Freeze is coming. A month after all the chaos, Jim Gordon gives an Oscar-worthy performance while testifying about Theo Galavan's death. With the murder scene fresh in his mind, he pins all the blame on Penguin, and somehow, it sticks. Gordon is cleared and reinstated as a detective, but Captain Barnes and Harvey Dent aren't buying his story. While the police hunt for Penguin, the media wonders who the new kingpin of crime is. And the new kingpin is Butch, who now calls the shots with his drill hand. Out of nowhere, Tabitha Galavan shows up and proposes an alliance. He's reluctant, but the chemistry between them is too strong, and they kiss, unaware that Selina Kyle is spying on them through a crack, like a professional stalker. Meanwhile, we meet Victor Fries, a guy who is kidnapping people and turning them into human popsicles. When a cop pulls him over, he freezes her from head to toe with a cryogenic gun and escapes. At the precinct, Nigma, who's being weirder than usual, helps crack the case. Gordon takes the opportunity to poke him about his friendship with Penguin, but Nigma brushes it off. Suddenly, Barnes arrives, dragging Penguin behind him and throwing him in a cell. During the interrogation, Penguin pleads insanity to protect Gordon and ends up being sent to Arkham Asylum, where he becomes a joke and a target for bullies. We discover that Victor's wife, Nora, is dying, and he's conducting these bizarre experiments to cryogenically freeze her and save her life. Desperate, he attacks a pharmacy and freezes everyone inside. The police find Nora, who discovers the bodies in her husband's basement.
Ma'am?
When Victor tries to turn himself in at the precinct, he sees one of his victims has been revived. His formula finally worked. He quietly slips away, now holding the key to saving Nora. And over at Arkham, the sinister Hugo Strange hears about this Mr. Freeze and becomes very interested, descending into his secret lab at Indian Hill. The police raid Ace Chemicals and find Victor Fries' message scrawled in ice. Free my wife. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne, after being kidnapped, is feeling like Batman ahead of schedule. He tells Leslie that the experience made him feel alive and more determined to find his parents' killer. Captain Barnes has a brilliant idea. Use Nora as bait to catch Victor at Arkham Asylum. Leslie hates the idea but agrees to go along so as not to abandon her patient. Hugo Strange, who runs Arkham, sees this as a golden opportunity. He's conducting some bizarre therapy on Penguin. During the transfer, Penguin sees Gordon and shouts that he is Galavan's real killer. Strange hears everything through the cameras. Victor doesn't fall for the trap and storms into Arkham at full force, crashing through with a truck. Strange, enjoying the show, manipulates the situation, locks the police out, and makes a deal with Victor, Nora's escape, in exchange for the cryo formula. Victor takes Nora and Leslie home. Tired of it all, Nora swaps the cartridges in the cryo gun without him noticing. When he freezes her, her body shatters. Devastated, Victor tries to kill himself by freezing his own body. In the middle of all this, Bruce hands Selina an envelope while Gordon and Leslie get into a huge fight over his lies. Victor doesn't die. He wakes up in Indian Hill, Strange's secret lab, with white hair and blue eyes. He can now only survive in sub-zero temperatures. Strange offers him a new suit and a new beginning. And to wrap things up, we see the bodies of Theo Galavan and Jerome Valeska floating in tanks. Things are about to get ugly. Hugo Strange's therapy is working a little too well. Penguin is now so zen that he gets beaten up by a detective over an ice cream cone and doesn't fight back. Strange is immensely proud and decides he's cured and ready to be released. Meanwhile, Bruce, armed with a gun from Selina, is on his own revenge mission.
Is it loaded?
Ain't no point in an unloaded gun. Guns aren't for show, Bruce, and they're not for protection.
Alfred discovers the killer is a man named Matches Malone and even gets into a fistfight with an informant to get a lead. But Alfred passes out and Bruce goes after the guy alone. He ends up at a bizarre club called Celestial Gardens, run by Jerry, a woman who looks like a Joker cosplayer. After a strange chat, she gives Bruce Malone's address. Just as Gordon shows up to crash the party, Jerry's crew holds the detective back and Bruce escapes. Bruce finally finds Malone, a washed-up drunk hitman. The man wants Bruce to kill him to end his suffering, but Bruce refuses, leaves the gun, and walks away, saying that he's just a man, not a monster. As soon as Gordon arrives, they hear a gunshot. Malone has killed himself. Strange releases Penguin, calling him his experiment. Nigma becomes increasingly paranoid, thinking Gordon is onto him about Kristen Kringle, and starts plotting something, drawing a green question mark on a photo of the detective. To close, Bruce leaves a note for Alfred saying he's gone to live on the streets with Selina to learn how to fight evil the right way. Basically, he's off to do his Batman internship. Here, Edward Nigma decides to play art gallery terrorist. He storms the Gotham Museum with a fake bomb just to make everyone run so he can calmly steal a painting. In its place, he spray paints a beautiful green question mark. The police arrive and Captain Barnes dumps the case in Gordon and Bullock's lap. But it's not all good news for Jim. Internal Affairs has reopened the Galavan murder case, and new testimony points to Gordon as the killer. He swears he's innocent, but the situation has already soured. Meanwhile, Penguin, in a full peace and love vibe, goes to apologize to Butch and Tabitha. Tabitha, who's no fool, tries to send him to the great beyond to avenge her brother, but Butch stops her. The punishment? A coat of tar and feathers. Penguin literally becomes a giant chicken. Back on the case, Gordon and Bullock discover the mystery thief's next target is the train station. Gordon arrives just in time to find the bomb and, in a heroic act, throws it inside a statue before it blows. Nigma, who orchestrated the whole thing, watches from a distance. In parallel, Bruce and Selina team up with Poison Ivy to steal money from some crooks using hallucinogenic mushrooms. The plan goes wrong, and Bruce ends up taking a beating to protect Selina, but he realizes he can take a punch. The net closes in on Gordon when Nigma, who was helping with the investigation all along, frames him for the murder of Officer Pinckney, whom he himself killed. Nigma sets up a perfect crime scene, and Barnes arrests Gordon, who screams that he's been framed. In a flash trial, Jim is sentenced to 40 years in Blackgate. The news is so shocking that Barbara Keene wakes up from her coma in Arkham. In prison, Gordon breaks up with Leslie, asking her to forget him, while Harvey promises to find the real culprit. Jim Gordon is adjusting to life in Blackgate prison, but the corrupt warden decides to transfer him to World's End, where Gordon is attacked by the criminals he put away. Amidst this chaos, Bullet visits Gordon and reveals that Lee lost the baby and left Gotham, which devastates Gordon. Meanwhile, Penguin is living a fairy tale in the mansion of his father, Elijah Van Dahl, but his stepmother Grace and her children don't like the new heir. To solve the problem, they try to poison Penguin, but Elijah accidentally drinks it and dies in his son's arms. With help from Falcone and Bullock, Gordon manages to escape, but goes back to save a fellow inmate, Puck, who ends up dying. Gordon refuses Falcone's offer of a new life and, determined, returns to Gotham to clear his name. Jim Gordon is a fugitive, while Bruce Wayne continues his journey, stealing from thieves with Selina Kyle. Hugo Strange releases Barbara Keene from Arkham, a terrible idea. To clear his name, Gordon asks Nigma for help cleaning up a recording that incriminated him. The problem is, Gordon realizes Nigma is the one who made the recording and confronts him. Nigma, always one step ahead, uses a taser and knocks Gordon out. Selina, following Gordon's plan, spreads a rumor that he was seen with Penguin. Nigma panics and rushes to the woods to dig up Kristen Kringle's body. Gordon appears, and Nigma confesses everything and is arrested.
Goodbye, Jim.
Drop the gun! Drop it! Captain Barnes,
Meanwhile, Penguin, back at the mansion, serves his stepmother Grace a dinner prepared from the remains of her children and then kills her. With his name cleared, Gordon decides not to call Lee and focuses on finding who killed his parents. The night ends with Barbara knocking on Gordon's door. She swears she's cured, but he doesn't buy it. In the Batcave, Bruce Wayne investigates his father's computer and learns about a project called Pinewood Farms and a woman named Karen Jennings. Gordon, in full Rambo mode, starts beating up crooks until he finds the whereabouts of the lady, who hired a hitman to kill him. Bruce and Alfred find Karen, but she has a reptile-like claw, an experiment gone wrong. She explains that Pinewood was a bioengineering project at Wayne Enterprises and that Bruce's father discovered the atrocities, shut it down, and hid the survivors. At the nightclub, Barbara betrays Gordon and hands him over to the lady, but then betrays the lady and helps Gordon escape. Before being arrested, the lady reveals that someone called the Philosopher ordered the Wayne's death. Bruce, Alfred, and Karen are pursued by Mr. Freeze agrees, who has a new suit. Karen sacrifices herself, and Lucius Fox discovers that the philosopher is Hugo Strange. At Indian Hill, Theo Galavan is resurrected and screams, Azrael. Things just got serious. Meanwhile, Gordon goes to Arkham to confront Strange about the Pinewood program. Strange pins all the blame on Thomas Wayne and plays dumb. Gordon tries to trick him with a fake court order, but it doesn't work. On his way out, he runs into Nigma, who promises he'll escape and get his revenge. Nigma overhears Strange talking about Gordon and offers to help take him down, but Strange dismisses him. However, Nigma's idea gives the mad professor an idea. He goes to Galavan, introduces himself as the founder of the Order of Saint Dumas, and convinces the man that he is Azrael, an immortal warrior who now serves him. Basically, a complete brainwashing. At Wayne Manor, Bruce is fed up with bureaucracy and wants to deal with Strange the same way Gordon dealt with Galavan. But Jim gives him the mentor speech.
It will make you more like the evil you're trying to fight. You need to be better. Do you understand me?
He asks Bruce to be patient. In Arkham, Nigma is annoyed at being ignored and starts to suspect Strange is hiding something. He follows Strange's assistant and discovers a secret passage. Down below, in Indian Hill, Strange tests his new Azrael, ordering him to eliminate an inmate and handing him a fake sword with the mission to kill James Gordon. Azrael appears in the middle of a crime scene and goes after Gordon and Captain Barnes. He takes them both down, but Bullock and Bruce arrive with backup and force him to retreat. At the precinct, Barnes refuses to believe Strange is behind this and, to make matters worse, locks Gordon in a cell to protect him. But Azrael doesn't give up. He breaks into the precinct, kills the lights, and smashes a window straight out of a horror movie. On the rooftop, he fights Barnes, who manages to rip off his mask and is shocked to see Theo Galavan's face. Distracted, Barnes gets stabbed. Gordon shows up with a shotgun and shoots Azrael until he falls off the building right in front of TV cameras. The news spreads. Theo Galavan is alive. Penguin, Tabitha, and Butch see everything. And to top it off, Nigma finally gets into Indian Hill and discovers the bizarre creatures living there. Gordon and Bullock raid Hugo Strange's office in Arkham with a warrant, but the guy has already shredded all the documents, claiming spring cleaning. Meanwhile, Nigma, traumatized by the monsters he saw in Indian Hill, tries to find a way to escape through a ventilation duct. Azrael, for his part, breaks into a church looking for a new sword and snaps a priest's neck when he can't help. The hunt is on. With Captain Barnes in the hospital, Bullock takes over as acting captain and organizes a massive manhunt for Galavan. He and Gordon go to talk to Tabitha, who reveals that Azrael's sword was a fake and the real one is buried in their grandfather's tomb. It's like a morbid treasure hunt. Meanwhile, Bruce recruits Selina Kyle to break into Arkham and find evidence against Strange. She agrees, mostly for the chance to find out if Bridget Pike, Firefly, is still alive. Selina goes in alone, hidden in a laundry cart. At the cemetery, Gordon, Bullock, and Tabitha are attacked by Azrael. He ends up trapped in a crypt with Tabitha, who tries to make him remember who he is. The plan works a little too well. Theo remembers everything, including his original mission to kill Bruce Wayne. As a thank you, he stabs his own sister for her betrayal.
You're the son of Gotham.
In Arkham, Selina finds Nigma in the air ducts. They make a deal. She shows him how to escape, and he shows her how to get to Indian Hill. At the hospital, Penguin shows up to see Butch and proposes an alliance to kill Galavan. Revenge brings people together. Azrael breaks into Wayne Manor and fights Alfred. Bruce tries to help, but Alfred ends up being thrown through a window. Down in Indian Hill, Selina overhears Strange planning to evacuate the facility. She also sees some guards struggling to move a man with scaly skin. Bruce uses a car to run over Azrael in the garage, but the villain gets up as if it were nothing. Just as he's about to kill Bruce, Gordon appears and unloads his gun on him. Azrael gets up again, but then comes the surprise. Penguin and Butch arrive, and Butch simply blows Azrael up with a rocket launcher. Nigma is caught trying to escape, and Selina finds Bridget, who is now Firefly, remembers nothing, and prepares to burn her alive, while Strange watches the whole thing from the sidelines. In Arkham, Basil, one of Hugo Strange's test subjects, has his face altered to look like Jim Gordon. Strange does this so he can detonate Indian Hill and erase the evidence of his experiments. The plan works, and the Gordon imposter fools the GCPD. Meanwhile, the real Gordon and Bruce Wayne, who have broken into Arkham, are captured. Strange resurrects Fish Mooney by mixing her DNA with Cuttlefish DNA. Fish returns with her memories and a new power of mind control. The infiltration of Indian Hill by Gordon, Bruce, and Lucius Fox goes wrong, and they are captured. And to top it all off, the imposter is among them. Basil, the imposter, orders the police to leave Arkham while Hugo Strange prepares a bomb to blow everything up. Nigma, who is imprisoned, sets up a riddle game with poison gas to try to kill Bruce and Lucius. Fish Mooney uses her power to control Mistress Peabody, and Strange, in a panic, activates the bomb. At the GCPD, Barbara Keene, who knows Gordon better than anyone, figures out the guy is an imposter and exposes him in front of everyone. Basil's face melts, and Bullock sends the police back to Arkham. Fish steals a bus full of monsters, and Gordon and Lucius disarm the bomb at the last second. Outside, Penguin, who wanted to catch Strange, comes face to face with the resurrected Fish. She touches his face, and he faints. Gordon says goodbye to everyone and goes after Lee. To close out the season, a woman opens the bus door and unleashes the monsters on the city. The last one to emerge is a clone of Bruce Wayne.
Thank you.
6 months later, things have changed in Gotham. Jim Gordon has become a bounty hunter, chasing the monsters that escaped from Indian Hill. Penguin, who has become a local celebrity, offers $1 million bounty for Fish Mooney's head. Bruce and Alfred return to Gotham, and a more mature Bruce confronts the Wayne Enterprises board. In response, they send a ninja assassin, the Talon, to silence the boy. Fish and her gang break into a lab to find a cure, and one of her monsters kills Peabody with a touch that causes people to age rapidly. Little Ivy, who is spying, is caught by the monster. She manages to escape, but is touched and falls into a sewer. The Talon breaks into Wayne Manor, knocks out Alfred, and kidnaps Bruce. Bruce Wayne is taken by the Talon to the Court of Owls, where he meets the leader, Catherine. They reach an agreement. Bruce stops investigating his parents' death in exchange for peace. Meanwhile, reporter Valerie Vale and Jim Gordon investigate Fish Mooney, and Barbara Keene, in her chaotic way, helps with information. Ivy Pepper, who we thought had died, re-emerges as a grown woman. The police raid Fish's hideout, but she escapes and kidnaps Bullock. She uses her power to find out where Hugo Strange is. Mooney finds Strange, but the GCPD and a mob led by Penguin surround them. Penguin, who manages to corner Fish, is moved by her words, as she tells him he was her greatest creation. He lets her go. Gordon and Valerie kiss, and Lee, Gordon's ex-girlfriend, returns to Gotham. A new villain, the hypnotist Jervis Tetch, the Mad Hatter, appears in Gotham. He is a psychopath who manipulates people into doing what they secretly desire. Tetch hires Jim Gordon to find his missing sister Alice, but reveals that she has a deadly virus in her blood and is running from him. Penguin, meanwhile, announces his candidacy for mayor, while Bruce's clone, 5, escapes from Indian Hill and seeks refuge at Wayne Manor. He feels no pain and fights better than Alfred. Gordon runs into Lee at the precinct, and she reveals she is engaged to Mario Falcone. To complicate matters, Bruce's clone, 5, steals a car and goes after Selina Kyle, who thinks he's the real Bruce. Gordon confronts Tetch and is hypnotized. Alice appears, saves Gordon by shooting her brother, and is arrested. The Mad Hatter is back, and Captain Barnes begins to feel the effects of Alice's blood virus. Bruce's clone saves Selina from thugs, and she notices his scars, realizing he's not the real Bruce. After a fight with the original Bruce, 5 jumps off a building and disappears. Nigma, the future Riddler, foils a scheme by Butch to rig the election. Tetch attacks the precinct with the Tweedle brothers, and, in the chaos, hypnotizes Gordon and escapes with Alice. In the amusement park, Gordon snaps out of his hypnosis and shoots the Tweeds, but Alice falls and ends up tragically injured. In the end, Penguin wins the election and appoints Nigma as his chief of staff. Captain Barnes is accidentally infected by a drop of Alice's blood, and the Clone 5 is captured by the Court of Owls. Oswald Cobblepot becomes mayor and, to celebrate, gives a speech and unveils a statue of his mother, but the ceremony is interrupted by the Red Hood Gang, led by Butch. Butch's plan was to cause chaos, disguise himself as a hero, and get closer to Penguin again. Nigma, who is no fool, figures it all out and confronts Butch. He sets a trap, pretending to ally with Butch to kill Penguin. During the speech, Butch shoots at Penguin, but the bullets are blanks. It was all a setup by Nigma. To save his friend, Penguin smashes a bottle over Butch's head. Meanwhile, Bruce and Selina finally share a kiss, and Captain Barnes realizes he no longer needs his crutch. Alice's virus is taking hold. The Mad Hatter is back and begins a twisted game with Jim Gordon. He forces him to make life or death choices, like saving a couple or a child, and Jim chooses to save the child. Penguin Penguin, meanwhile, plans to confess his feelings to Nigma, and Lee announces she's marrying Mario Falcone. Tetch kidnaps Lee and Valerie Vale, and forces Jim to choose which of the two he loves more, because that person will die. Jim, desperate, yells for him to kill Lee, but Tetch, convinced the detective loves Valerie, shoots her instead. Valerie is rushed to the hospital. In the midst of all this madness, Nigma meets a woman, Isabella, who is a dead ringer for his deceased ex-girlfriend. He becomes fascinated and forgets about his dinner with Penguin, who is left heartbroken. Valerie wakes up in the hospital and figures everything out immediately. She realizes Gordon told Tetch to kill Lee because he knew he would do the opposite, understanding that Gordon's heart belongs to someone else. She ends the relationship. Meanwhile, Tetch gets his hands on a super potent hallucinogen called Red Queen and uses it on Gordon, who goes on the wildest psychedelic trip of his life. The hallucination is like a dark version of Alice in Wonderland, with Barbara as his guide. Gordon is confronted by Bruce, lives a perfect fake life with Lee and their children, and even talks to his deceased father, who gives him a ring and some advice to stop being a lone wolf. While Gordon is out of it, a jealous Penguin tries to ruin Nigma's new romance by telling Isabella that he's a murderer, but it backfires. She says she doesn't care and loves him anyway, leaving Penguin even more devastated. The Hatter's plan is to poison Gotham's elite at a gala using Alice's blood. The police arrive just in time, and Captain Barnes, showing the first symptoms of the virus, freaks out and beats Tetch to a pulp with superhuman strength. Tetch is arrested. In the final scene, we see a mysterious woman from the party, Catherine, talking to a man wearing a ring identical to the one Gordon's father had. Things kick off with Captain Barnes stumbling upon a horror movie scene, a guy trying to dispose of a body with acid. The man claims he's just a cleaner, working for a known criminal called the Toad, but the blood on the guy's face activates Barnes's Hulk mode. Realizing the justice system would give the criminal a slap on the wrist, he loses control and simply annihilates him with his super strength. Meanwhile, life goes on. Lee tells Mario that Gordon is back on the force, but swears everything is fine. Nigma is having breakfast with Isabella, but when she puts on her glasses, he has a flashback of Kristen Kringle. The hallucination appears in the mirror, taunting him and saying he'll never stop being a killer. Terrified of hurting Isabella, he asks Penguin to break up with her for him. Barnes, increasingly unhinged, goes after the Toad and makes him confess that the mastermind was a plastic surgeon, Dr. Simon, who creates new identities for criminals. Penguin, for his part, goes to deliver the message to Isabella, but she immediately realizes that he's also in love with Nigma and refuses to give up. At Mario and Lee's engagement party, chaos erupts. Dr. Simon, who had been arrested and released, shows up. A jealous Mario punches Gordon, and Barnes, hearing voices screaming, "Guilty," corners Simon in the bathroom, declares himself judge, jury, and executioner, and throws him out the wall. To top it all off, a heartbroken Penguin has Isabella's brake lines cut, and she ends up crashing into a train.
Oh dear.
In his final moments, a dying Simon whispers to Gordon, who attacked him, "Barnes." 2 days before Lee and Mario's wedding, tensions are already high. A bomb explodes in the couple's car. Penguin, now the mayor, tries to get closer to a grieving Nigma. Nigma, the future Riddler, investigates Isabella's death and discovers it was no accident. Convinced that Butch killed her, he kidnaps and tortures both Butch and Tabitha. Unbeknownst to him, Nigma is being manipulated by Penguin. To save Butch, Tabitha must either press a button to electrocute him or lose her hand in a guillotine. She chooses to lose her hand. Nigma then realizes Butch is innocent. Barbara appears to rescue them and reveals that it was Penguin who killed Isabella. At Mario's bachelor party, he comes face to face with Gordon and Lee. Jealousy and hatred activate the virus in his blood. The episode opens with Mario crushing the skull of a scientist, the virus's first victim. Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle team up to infiltrate a Court of Owls building. Gordon, suspicious of Barnes, investigates the scientist. He finds another dead doctor just before Mario knocks him out. Gordon figures out that Mario is the killer. Meanwhile, Nigma finally understands that Penguin loves him and was the one who killed Isabella. At Mario's wedding, Gordon bursts in to stop the ceremony but is thrown out by Falcone. Gordon tracks down Mario, who is about to stab Lee. To save the woman he loves, Gordon shoots Mario in the chest. Lee is in shock, staring at Gordon in pure terror. In the Court of Owls building, Selina and Bruce are saved by Selina's mother, who appears out of nowhere. After the conflict at the wedding, Falcone wants Gordon's head. At Mario's funeral, Bullock stops Gordon Gordon, warning him that Falcone will have him killed on sight. Meanwhile, Penguin is enjoying life as mayor until he starts seeing the ghost of his father. Back at his apartment, Gordon gets a visit from Zaz, who warns him it's only a matter of time before Falcone sends his final message. At Selina's, her mother Maria shows up with a lame excuse for abandoning her. Selina doesn't buy it and tells her to get lost. At the GCPD, a bizarre case emerges. A girl who was dead in the morgue reappears alive on the train tracks. To make matters worse, Lee shows up to confront Gordon, telling him he's the real virus who destroys everyone's lives. At Doll Manor, Penguin is once again haunted by his father's ghost, who warns him not to trust the birthday boy. Gordon and Bullock track down the medical examiner Dwight and discover he's a fan of a familiar face. Jerome Valeska. Dwight is building a cult to bring Jerome back. Meanwhile, Falcone orders Gordon's death, but Lee, despite her anger, convinces him to call it off. The chase continues. Gordon and Bullock raid a meeting of Jerome's cult, but Dwight manages to escape. Soon after, Gordon finds Zaz at his house. They exchange a few threats and Zaz leaves. Penguin, increasingly paranoid, discovers that the birthday boy is his deputy, Tarquin. He breaks into the man's office, finds his father's exhumed body, and kills Tarquin in a fit of rage. And who's behind all this haunting? The Riddler, of course, using Clayface to drive Penguin insane. In the end, we discover that Selina's mother is a con artist, and that Dwight is truly about to bring Jerome back. The final shot shows Jerome's body, still wearing that macabre smile. Jerome's cult isn't messing around and steals his body from a Wayne Enterprises warehouse. Gordon and Bullock investigate and realize the resurrected girl was just a test. They arrest one of the cultists to get information. Meanwhile, Selina's mother Maria sets up a con with her partner Cole to scam Bruce out of $200,000. Even knowing it's a sham, Bruce pays, hoping it will help Selina reconnect with her mother. But Selina finds out and is furious, taking her anger out on Bruce, who, thanks to his training, is able to defend himself. Their relationship sours. At the GCPD, Gordon interrogates the cultist and uncovers the plan to resurrect Jerome. The cult leader, Dwight, tries to do the job but fails. Pressured by his followers who want to see their idol's smiling face, he has a morbid idea. He cuts off Jerome's face and wears it as a mask, declaring, "We are all Jerome." It's the height of bizarre. Penguin's life is falling apart. With his popularity in the gutter, he falls into a trap set by the Riddler, who makes him believe his rival, Tommy Bones, has kidnapped him. In reality, Tabitha has already dealt with Tommy. Lee, wanting answers, uses a truth serum on an undercover cop and learns that Jerome's cult is going to take over a TV station. But when she returns to her office, she comes face to face with Jerome himself, alive and well, who takes her hostage. The stage is set, while Dwight storms the TV station posing as Jerome. The real Jerome, now in uniform, escapes from the GCPD. Gordon and the police raid the station and arrest Dwight. Haywen goes to the Riddler's supposed hideout, walking right into the trap. But the main event belongs to Jerome. He kidnaps Dwight, straps him to a pile of explosives at a power plant, and broadcasts live to Gotham. The message is clear. In the darkness, there are no rules. Cites total chaos, blows up the power plant, and plunges the entire city into a blackout. The anarchy has begun. Gotham has descended into pandemonium with the blackout, and the GCPD looks like Black Friday for criminals. Meanwhile, the Riddler finally corners Penguin. He shows him Isabella's wrecked car, making it clear the news of the accident has spread, and he knows everything. Nigma then sets up a Saw-worthy trap. He ties Penguin to the car and places a vat of acid set to fall on him. Under pressure, Oswald confesses that he killed Isabella out of love for Nigma himself. Meanwhile, Gordon and Leslie figure out that Jerome's next target is Bruce Wayne. Sure enough, Jerome and his followers invade Wayne Manor, smash the owl statue, and kidnap Bruce, nearly taking out Alfred in the process. Luckily, Gordon arrives in the nick of time to save the butler. Jerome takes Bruce to a seaside carnival of horrors, where he uses a henchman's blood to draw a smile on the boy's face. The Jokerverse is taking shape. Penguin manages to escape, only to fall right into the hands of Butch and Tabitha. At the carnival, Jerome ties Bruce to a post in front of a cannon. The plan is to end the night with a literal boom. But just as the show starts, Gordon, Alfred, and Bullock crash the party. Bruce breaks free and flees into a hall of mirrors, with Jerome hot on his heels. Inside, Bruce unleashes all his rage and gives Jerome a historic beating, disfiguring him. He picks up a shard of glass, almost becoming the vigilante Gotham needs, but at the last second, he decides against killing. It's his first rule, no killing. When Jerome tries to attack again, Gordon punches him so hard that Jerome's face falls off. Yes, his face detaches. In the end, Nigma, unconvinced by Penguin's declaration of love, takes him to the docks, shoots him in the stomach, and throws him into the river.
I loved her, Oswald. And you killed her.
the Riddler is in a new phase. He kidnaps Gotham's greatest minds and artists, asks them riddles, and if they get them wrong, it's game over. He's having an identity crisis, like a teenage villain searching for his place in the world. To make matters worse, he starts hallucinating Penguin, who appears to haunt him and tell him how dependent he was. In one of these visions, Penguin's ghost even sings a song, complete with a top hat and tails, just to rub in how lost Nigma is. Tired of the ghost, Nigma decides he needs a worthy enemy to find himself, and his chosen one is Jim Gordon. He starts sending clues to the police, but there's a problem. The one solving the riddles isn't Gordon, but Lucius Fox. Nigma gets pissed and sets up a series of traps, including one that nearly electrocutes a crowd at a chess exhibition. Meanwhile, Bruce receives a fake note from Selina, walks into a trap, and gets beaten up. But something changes. He fights back and takes down his attackers. On his way home, however, he's kidnapped by his clone, Five, who takes his place at Wayne Manor. We now have a fake Bruce living with Alfred. Far away, Uncle Frank tells Gordon the whole truth. The Court of Owls is a secret society that has controlled Gotham for centuries and killed Gordon's father. His plan is for Gordon to join the court to destroy it from within. Back in the city, the Riddler sets up a final challenge for Fox, with Bullock's life on the line. Fox manages to save his boss, and Nigma finally reveals himself, admitting it was all a show to create his nemesis. He accepts himself, throws away his medication, and christens himself. He is now the Riddler. And to top it all off, we discover that Bruce has been taken to a prison atop a snowy mountain, and that Penguin isn't dead. He was rescued by Poison Ivy and is already planning his revenge. The Court of Owls convenes and decides they've had enough of Gotham, hitting the reset button and planning to use a mysterious weapon to destroy the city. Far from all this, Bruce wakes up in a cell and meets a mysterious sensei who promises to help him, using acupuncture needles. The sensei forces Bruce to relive the night of his parents' death over and over, claiming the pain is preventing him from becoming what he needs to be. The idea is to turn trauma into strength. The sensei spells it out. Bruce must become a symbol against fear so that Gotham can be reborn. It's practically a therapy session to become Batman. Meanwhile, Gordon investigates his father's death and discovers that the drunk driver in the accident couldn't actually drink. The trail leads him to Carmine Falcone, who drops the bombshell of the century. The ward who ordered the hit on Gordon's father was his own Uncle Frank. Gordon confronts his uncle, who confesses everything. Frank explains that his father was going to expose the court, so he had to be silenced. To make matters worse, the court now wants Frank to kill Gordon. On the other side of town, Penguin, still recovering with Ivy, tries to reassemble his old gang but is betrayed. Ivy, whom he had called a freak, uses her powers of seduction to turn the tables, and Penguin, furious, kills the traitor. Humiliated, he finally listens to Ivy and accepts the idea of building an army of freaks. Uncle Frank, seeing no way out, meets with Gordon and kills himself in front of him, leaving behind a note that incriminates him. The plan is to force Gordon to join the court to save himself and destroy them from within. Seeing no other option, Gordon calls Catherine, takes the blame for his uncle's death, and gets into the court's waiting car. The infiltration has begun. Penguin and Ivy decide to take a trip to the Arctic, like a very cold vacation. Their goal? To recruit Mr. Freeze. Victor Fries isn't too happy to see Penguin, since his mayoral campaign drove all the freaks out of Gotham, but Cobblepot is a smooth talker and promises a cure for his condition in exchange for help. To seal the deal, he delivers a brand new refrigerated suit, ready for a return to the city. Meanwhile, Gordon has a meeting with Catherine, the head of the Court of Owls. She wants proof of loyalty and, to that end, manipulates Frank's death scene to look like something else. Gordon discovers the deception at the GCPD, but Lee is no fool and already senses he's hiding something. Speaking of villains, Nigma now goes by the Riddler and is back in action. Barbara shows up wanting to know more about the secret organization running Gotham, and Nigma remembers that Professor Strange worked for them. To announce his return, he crashes a production of Hamlet and kills the lead actor, promising to kidnap someone from the elite. At Wayne Manor, Bruce's clone 5 continues to pose as the original, but starts getting nosebleeds. Catherine warns him that his time is running out. Later, the Riddler investigation leads Gordon and Bullock to Mayor James, who falls into a trap. To create the perfect chaos and kidnap the mayor at the hospital, the Riddler has Tabitha blow up a biker bar. It works. With the mayor in his grasp, the Riddler learns about the court. He then broadcasts live, with the mayor wearing a bomb collar, demanding the court reveal itself. Catherine orders Gordon to capture the Riddler to prove his worth. Gordon sets a plan, lures the Riddler to the empty precinct, but the bomb collar fails, a trick he learned from Tabitha. In the midst of this chaos, Five reveals his identity to Selina and shoves her out a window. She falls unconscious as a clatter of cats surrounds her, in a very Catwoman moment. In the end, Gordon takes Nigma to the court and officially becomes a member, even getting a mask. Barnes tries to escape Arkham, but runs into the Talon, who sedates him and takes him straight to the Court of Owls. Watching it all from his cell is the Mad Hatter. Catherine then hands Barnes over to Professor Strange, who takes some of his blood for who knows what. Meanwhile, Lee continues her private investigation and shows Bullock evidence linking Gordon to Frank's death. Ivy, worried about Selina, finds out she's in the hospital in critical condition. It's then that we learn the court's plan. Strange has weaponized the Tetch virus into an airborne biological agent. The plan is basically to infect all of Gotham. Gordon, playing double agent, manages to get a strand of hair from Catherine's mask and infiltrates her house, finding a Wayne Enterprises keycard. Far away, Bruce continues his training with the Sensei, who forces him to relive his parents' death to overcome the trauma, like a Jedi's shock therapy. Back in Gotham, Gordon and Bullock find Strange, who, to avoid arrest, hands over his notes and a sample of the virus. At a high society party, Catherine reveals to Gordon that they're going to use a bomb to spread the virus. Gordon wastes no time and calls Penguin for help. He confronts the Talon, but it's Firefly who settles the score, arriving to barbecue the assassin and scare everyone off. At the hospital, Ivy uses her medicinal plants to heal Selina, who wakes up with a thirst for revenge, wanting to kill Five. Penguin ends up being captured by the court and wakes up in a cell next to none other than the Riddler. To cap it all off, Catherine orders Barnes, now acting as her executioner, to hunt down and kill Gordon. Penguin and the Riddler are trapped in adjacent cells, and Nigma is so shocked he thinks Cobblepot is just a hallucination. At Wayne Manor, Selina attacks Five, but the clone is stronger and knocks both her and Alfred out. The Sensei and Bruce finally return to Gotham. Lee, poor thing, is so traumatized she dreams of Mario spiking her drink with the infected blood. At the GCPD, Gordon and Bullock find a crystal owl that reveals a map of Gotham, but the party is short-lived. Barnes shows up in sinister armor, throws a grenade, and kidnaps Gordon. Alfred kicks Selina out of the manor, telling her she's just like her mother. Ouch. The Sensei continues to brainwash Bruce, making him lock away all the pain from his parents' death. Barnes, meanwhile, decides to play judge, jury, and executioner, putting Gordon on trial. Luckily, the police arrive in time to save him. Meanwhile, Penguin and the Riddler call a truce to escape, agreeing to a 5-hour head start before they try to kill each other again. Chaos erupts at the precinct. Bullock arrests Catherine. Alfred shows up and stabs her to find out where Bruce is, and Barnes storms the place. He kills Catherine and goes after Gordon to blow off his axe hand with a shotgun blast. Bruce completes his training and becomes the Sensei's puppet. To make matters even worse, the vial of the virus disappears from the precinct. Gordon connects the dots and realizes who took it. The final scene shows Lee injecting herself with the virus, her eyes changing color. Things just got personal. The Sensei and Bruce Wayne are in a meeting with the Court of Owls, but it's anything but friendly. Suddenly, the Sensei gives the order, and the Talons, his ninja assassins, simply slaughter every member of the court. The police arrive later and find a single survivor who, before dying, spills the beans. Bruce and the Sensei were behind it. Meanwhile, Nigma is in gossip mode, rushing to warn Barbara, Butch, and Tabitha that Penguin is not only alive, but also coming to settle the score for his death. At the same time, Gordon visits Lee and gets a nasty surprise. She's infected with the Tetch virus. She becomes a dark version of herself, tries to seduce Gordon, and when he resists, she knocks him out cold. In another part of the city, Penguin sets a brilliant trap. He and Ivy are attacked by Nigma and Butch, but it was all a bait. Penguin captures them and escapes, but Selina ends up getting caught, and the plot thickens. Bruce and the Sensei get a virus bomb from Hugo Strange, planning to infect the entire city to force the emergence of a dark hero. Alfred and Bullock raid the location and arrest Strange, but Bruce, completely brainwashed, chooses to stay with the Sensei. Gordon wakes up buried alive in a coffin, with little oxygen and a syringe of the virus as his only company. Lee calls Bullock just to mock him, saying Gordon will have to inject himself to get out. With no choice, Gordon infects himself and uses his newfound super strength to escape. The villainous mess escalates when Fish Mooney appears and kidnaps Penguin right in front of everyone. At the train station, Alfred tries to snap Bruce out of it, but the Sensei forces him to press the detonator. In a desperate act, Alfred shoots the Sensei, who, before dying, gives Bruce one last mission: to find the head of the demon. Bruce, blinded by rage, attacks Alfred and is arrested. The bomb explodes, and a cloud of the virus begins to spread across Gotham. Gotham has become a scene out of a zombie movie, with the Tech virus turning everyone into maniacs. At the GCPD, Gordon, Bullock, and Alfred try everything to break Bruce's brainwashing, but the boy is adamant. The only hope is an antidote created by Hugo Strange, but when the police go to get the scientist, Fish Mooney and Mr. Freeze show up and take him. Gordon, already infected, gets so furious he punches the ice wall Freeze created to escape. While Nigma and Barbara hunt for Penguin, Alfred tries one more time to talk to Bruce, who only speaks of the one who is to come. In the middle of the chaos overwhelming the precinct, Bruce manages to escape his cell. Elsewhere, Butch and Tabitha, sensing which way the wind is blowing, decide to betray Barbara and ally themselves with Fish. Penguin forces Strange to produce more antidote and arranges a villain summit at a slaughterhouse. Present are him, Fish, Mr. Freeze, and Firefly, but the party is crashed by the League of Shadows, who also want the cure. Gordon and Bullock storm in, taking down anyone in their path. In the middle of the crossfire, Gordon accidentally stabs Fish, who dies in Penguin's arms. To make matters worse, all the vials of the antidote shatter on the floor. Strange says the only solution now is to use the Mad Hatter's blood, but because misery loves company, Barbara, Tabitha, and Butch kidnap the Hatter before anyone else can. Far from this mess, Bruce finds the secret building the sensei mentioned. There, he meets the real boss, Ra's al Ghul, the head of the demon. Ra's says he's looking for an heir and has chosen Bruce, but to prove his worth, he must do the unthinkable, kill Alfred, and Bruce, completely programmed, obeys, running a sword through his loyal butler's chest. Even on the brink of death, Alfred manages to break Bruce's hypnosis with words of affection, reminding him of the love he felt for him and his parents. Desperate, Bruce pulls the sword from his chest. Ra's al Ghul, with the utmost calm, tells him to use the water from a mystical pit to heal Alfred and simply leaves. Bruce dips his hand in the water and heals the butler's wound, who wakes up instantly. Meanwhile, the city is still in chaos. Lee calls Gordon and asks him to flee Gotham with her. He agrees, but first, he needs to solve the antidote mess. Nigma and Barbara have the Mad Hatter and demand Penguin in exchange. The trade turns into a massive brawl. Penguin escapes, taking Nigma with him. Out of time, Gordon slits the Mad Hatter's throat to get the blood needed for the cure, but the virus finally overwhelms him. He finds Lee but can't bring himself to inject her with the antidote. Bullock appears and, despite being attacked by his friend, manages to deliver 2 vials of the cure. On the train, Gordon cures himself and saves Lee. The villains' alliance implodes for good. Barbara discovers Butch's betrayal and shoots him in the head. Tabitha gets her revenge and kills Barbara by electrocution in a brutal fight. Penguin tricks Nigma and takes him to Mr. Freeze, who freezes him in a block of ice. Penguin then opens his new club, the Iceberg Lounge, with the frozen Nigma as the main attraction. The cure is distributed, and Gotham returns to normal. Lee leaves Gordon a letter, saying she's leaving, but that she believes in him. At the hospital, Alfred tells Bruce he needs to forge his own destiny. Selina joins Tabitha at the Sirens Club, and Butch, in a coma, is identified by his birth name, Cyrus Gold. A family is attacked in Crime Alley, but a masked vigilante emerges, defeats the mugger, and disappears across the rooftops. As he removes his mask, we see it's Bruce, finally beginning his journey. We see Bruce Wayne testing his new bat-like costume, leaping from rooftop to rooftop. He saves a couple from muggers and discovers something bizarre. The criminals have an official license for misconduct. As he processes this, Ra's al Ghul watches from the shadows. Elsewhere, Victor Zsasz, Penguin's enforcer, interrupts a robbery at a wedding party. The reason? The thieves didn't have a license from Penguin. Basically, Penguin has become a crime franchisor. You can steal as long as you pay him a percentage, and the mayor and the police are in on the scheme. Gordon, of course, refuses to accept this nonsense and arrests a licensed criminal by force. Meanwhile, some thugs break Jonathan Crane out of Arkham. He is still traumatized by his father's fear toxin and is haunted by a Scarecrow persona. The men force him to retrieve the toxin's formula and use it to rob a bank, spraying fear gas on everyone. Gordon and Bullock investigate and quickly figure out it's Crane's work. At the same time, Penguin opens his new nightclub, the Iceberg Lounge, and uses Nigma's frozen body as a centerpiece. Seriously, Crane's gang decides to hit the nightclub, but Penguin sets a trap. In the confusion, Ivy cuts the power, Gordon raids the place, and the criminals spray Penguin with the fear toxin, causing him to hallucinate Nigma. In the midst of the chaos, Bruce gets a list of licensed criminals, but ends up falling through a skylight and is caught by the police, unmasked. To top it all off, one of the thugs returns for more toxin and comes face to face with Jonathan, who is now fully dressed as the Scarecrow and declares, "Jonathan is no more. I am the Scarecrow."
Jonathan Crane isn't here anymore.
It's just a Scarecrow.
The Gotham City police arrive at the Crane house and find one of the thugs tied up, screaming in terror that the Scarecrow is coming. The fear is real. Bruce gets away from the police with a lame excuse about falling off the roof, but Lucius Fox is suspicious. At Arkham, the Scarecrow unleashes terror, spraying his fear gas on the warden and other inmates. Penguin, furious about the fiasco at his club, gives Gordon 24 hours to catch the Scarecrow, or he'll clean up the city himself. Meanwhile, Selina and Tabitha receive a mysterious invitation and come face to face with none other than a very much alive Barbara Keene. She proposes a partnership to sell weapons to the city's new criminals. Tabitha is enraged, since Barbara killed Butch, but the idea of a new criminal empire hangs in the air. Gordon decides to storm Arkham alone, since no one will go with him. There, he is attacked, and the Scarecrow sprays him with the toxin, causing him to hallucinate Lee's suicide. But Gordon is tough, resists, and discovers that water neutralizes the gas. He turns on the sprinklers and saves everyone, but the Scarecrow escapes. Bruce, for his part, goes after a gang, takes a few hits, but then shows off his skills and defeats them. Alfred shows up to deliver the final blow, and later, they get a visit from Lucius Fox. He says he knows about Bruce's nightly activities and gives him a high-tech military prototype suit. Yes, the Batsuit 1.0 has arrived. In the end, Tabitha accepts the partnership with Barbara, Ivy drinks some strange potions that change her face, and Gordon, realizing he needs an army to take down Penguin, decides to seek out an old acquaintance, Falcone. We travel back in time to Arabia in 125 AD and see a man being resurrected in the Lazarus pit. He is told he is the new heir and is given a dagger to assume the mantle of Ra's al Ghul. It's quite a history lesson. Back in the present, Bruce is investigating a mysterious shipment from Penguin when he runs into a thief stealing an item. The thief, of course, is Selina. Meanwhile, Gordon goes to Miami to ask Falcone for help in taking down Penguin. The problem is, Falcone is dying and can't help. In his place, his daughter, Sophia, decides to return to Gotham with Gordon, and the two end up kissing on the beach. In Gotham, an obsessed fan named Myrtle Jenkins thaws out Nigma. She wants to be his partner in crime, the Riddlet. But there's a catch. The freezing process left Nigma with brain damage, and he can no longer solve a simple riddle. He gets so frustrated that he runs away. Bruce discovers the item Selina stole was an ancient dagger, which will be auctioned at Penguin's nightclub. He and Alfred learn the dagger belonged to a Mesopotamian king, and shockingly, find an image of Ra's al Ghul in a 2,000-year-old book. At the auction, Bruce plays the part of the arrogant billionaire playboy, and wins the dagger for $2 million, outbidding Barbara. Later, Selina tries to steal the dagger at Wayne Manor, but Bruce stops her. Penguin, upon learning of Nigma's diminished mind, sends Zsasz to eliminate the Riddlet. Ra's al Ghul appears before Barbara. He becomes very interested when he learns Bruce bought the dagger, and out of nowhere, the two of them kiss. The alliances are getting stranger and stranger. Bruce and Alfred take a very suspicious night to an antiques dealer named Niles Winthrop for inspection. His grandson Alex is also intrigued by the object. Meanwhile, Edward Nigma is back, creating new riddles and plotting his revenge against Penguin. That night, Niles deciphers a message on the knife about the head of the demon and a legend of an immortal man named Ra's al Ghul, and, as if summoned, Ra's himself appears, wanting the knife. Niles hides his grandson and refuses to hand it over, so Ra's snaps his neck without a second thought. Gordon is called to the crime scene and runs into Bruce, who finds Niles' body. Bruce tells him about Alex's involvement and reveals Barbara Keene was also after the knife, speaking of whom, Ra's meets with Barbara and introduces his new pet, Anubis, a man manipulated to act like a hound and track the knife. Penguin has a business meeting with Sophia Falcone, but soon receives a note from Nigma arranging a meeting at the docks. Gordon goes to question Barbara, but their conversation is interrupted by Bruce, who accuses her of working with Ra's. They find Alex in a library, but are attacked by Anubis and an assassin. They manage to escape, but Bruce and Alex flee on their own. At the GCPD, Gordon meets Ra's, who poses as an official from Nanda Parbat. Alfred recognizes him, attacks him, and Ra's simply vanishes into thin air. Penguin sets a trap for Falcone's loyal henchmen, using Sophia as bait, and Zsasz executes them all. The plan was to eliminate the competition. Bruce and Alex hide in the Museum of Natural History, but are attacked again. Gordon arrives Rambo style, killing both henchmen. Ra's appears, takes Alex hostage, and demands the knife. Bruce refuses. Ra's, impressed by his stance, kills Alex and allows himself to be arrested.
Well done, Bruce. You're finally beginning to see things clearly. Are you strong enough?
Nigma finally confronts Penguin, who humiliates him by saying his riddles no longer make sense and that his intellect is gone. It's a harsher blow than being frozen again. To wrap things up, Sophia and Gordon kiss, and Raish smiles in his cell, making it clear that this is all part of his plan. After 6 months in a coma, Butch Gilzean's body is unceremoniously dumped in Slaughter Swamp, a place full of toxic waste from Indian Hill. And like something out of a horror movie, he wakes up, but he's no longer Butch. He is now a super strong, amnesiac zombie-like creature. After attacking some campers, he hears a nursery rhyme and adopts a new name, Solomon Grundy. Bruce is determined to use the Balassi knife to kill Ra's al Ghul and avenge Alex's death. At the boy's funeral, Gordon informs Alfred that Ra's has diplomatic immunity and will be released soon. Meanwhile, Barbara visits Ra's in Blackgate Prison. He says he just wants to say goodbye, and when they touch hands through the glass, a light passes from him to her, giving Barbara some kind of mysterious power. Nigma, desperate to fix his broken brain, tries to rob a pharmacy, but fails and escapes wounded. On the run, he literally bumps into none other than Solomon Grundy. Bruce breaks into Blackgate ready to finish Ra's, but hesitates at the last second. Bad idea. He's ambushed by Ra's and his League of Shadows assassins disguised as guards. They take him underground, while Gordon and Alfred investigate the premises. Ra's reveals to Bruce that he is his heir and the only one who can truly kill him. After much taunting, threatening the lives of everyone Bruce loves, the boy snaps and stabs him in the chest. Ra's ages in seconds and turns into a mummy. Gordon decides to cover up the murder, and a traumatized Bruce decides to hang up his vigilante cowl. Nigma, taking advantage of Grundy's amnesia, pretends to be his friend and takes him to a fight club. And the big surprise of the night is that the club's doctor is Lee Tompkins. At the fight club, Nigma begs Lee to help fix his brain, but she, still furious about everything he's done, sends him packing. Meanwhile, Penguin and Sophia Falcone make their partnership official. Elsewhere in Gotham, a new serial killer emerges, a pig-masked lunatic who murders a cop and places a real pig's head on the victim's body. Jim and Harvey investigate and discover the dead cop was corrupt and on Penguin's payroll. Gordon interrogates Penguin and gets a lead on a guy who was sourcing pigs for someone called the Professor. Penguin, suspicious of Sophia, has Zaz tail her. At the fight club, Grundy is becoming a cash cow for Nigma, who discovers that Lee has set up a clandestine clinic to help the needy. Gordon and Bullet find more dead corrupt cops. They follow a lead on a white van to a warehouse, where they find another kidnapped officer, but it's a trap. The guy has a grenade in his stomach, which explodes and knocks both detectives out. Gordon wakes up tied, face to face with the professor. He reveals he's a former cop, fed up with corruption, now dedicated to killing dirty police officers. The professor then goes into the other room to kill Bullock. Gordon manages to break free, but the professor slits Bullock's throat and escapes. Zaz tells Penguin that Sophia bought an abandoned hospital, but she reveals she actually opened an orphanage. Penguin feels like an idiot. Lee, meeting medicine for her clinic, accepts Nigma's money and agrees to help him. Bullock survives, and Gordon confronts him, saying he knows he was on Penguin's payroll. Bullock confesses. Their friendship is left hanging by a thread. The killer, now dubbed Professor Pig by the media, is seen tending to his pigs in a secret location. The GCPD receives a Hannibal Lecter-style delivery. 44 gift boxes, each containing a pig's head, one for every cop in the department except for Jim Gordon, who was left out. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is at a charity event, feeling out of sorts after killing Ra's al Ghul. He runs into an old classmate, Grace, and the two decide to go for a night out. At the precinct, Penguin and his new security consultant, the Headhunter, show up to help with the pig case. After all, dead cops are bad for business. They learn that 3 officers have gone missing in the Narrows. The police and Penguin's men raid the neighborhood, and things get ugly, with the cops attacking residents. The Headhunter beats information out of someone, and they find 2 tied-up officers, one already dead. The survivor gives them a clue, an abandoned courthouse. Meanwhile, Bruce goes out with Grace and her crew, which includes jerks like Brant Jones and Tommy Elliott. Bruce nearly loses his temper and imagines punching Brant. To make matters worse, they're denied entry to a nightclub. Bruce's solution: buy the entire club and leave Brant outside. Billionaire stuff. Elsewhere, Barbara Keene announces the end of the gun shop and suggests she, Tabitha, and Selina split the money and go their separate ways. Selina, desperate to keep the group together, tries to rob a biker club, but the mission goes south. Tabitha goes to rescue her, but things get complicated until Barbara shows up, John Wick style, takes out the bikers, and the 3 leave with a huge payday. Gordon and Penguin's crew arrive at the courthouse. The so-called Professor Pig Pig calls Gordon, making threats and using the voice of the injured cop. Gordon immediately realizes the injured man is Pig in disguise and the courthouse is a trap. But Bullock, stubborn as ever, ignores the warning, storms the place, and shoots Pig, except Pig was the real cop, and his fall triggers machine guns that mow down the squad. Gordon has to go in and save everyone. In the end, Gordon is hailed as a hero.
If the Pig is watching, the GCPD is gonna take you down.
Penguin kills the headhunter, Bruce dives into the life of a party boy playboy, and Bullock is left bitter, complaining that he's now just a cop who shot a cop. At the Narrows Fight Club, Nigma and Grundy are putting on a stage act mocking the Penguin. During a fight, Grundy starts having flashbacks of Tabitha, a sign that his butch memories are returning. Even so, he doesn't hold back and rips off his opponent's arm to beat him to death with it. Meanwhile, the mayor offers Jim Gordon the captain's position, but he's hesitant. Penguin learns about Nigma's mockery and sends Barbara, Tabitha, and Selina to bring him back alive from the Narrows to settle a debt. But since Penguin trusts no one, he sends Firefly, Bridget Pike, after them as a backup plan. The girls arrive at the Fight Club and are shocked to see Grundy, instantly recognizing him as Butch. Tabitha tries to talk to him, while Selina kidnaps Nigma. Butch notices and goes after them, until Selina suggests they settle it with a fight. Tabitha versus Grundy, with Nigma as the prize. In parallel, Penguin visits an orphanage and meets Martin, a mute boy with psychopathic tendencies. He teaches the boy how to deal with bullies, and this lesson makes Penguin have a realization. Maybe Sophia Falcone is manipulating him the same way. The fight begins, with Nigma commentating and nicknaming Tabitha Tabby the Tigress. Grundy is dominating, but when Tabitha hits him with a mace, his memory returns for a second. He recognizes her, but then blacks out again and is knocked out. Time's up and Firefly arrives to burn everyone, but Lee Tompkins appears out of nowhere and incapacitates her. For ratting out the group, Cherry, the owner of the place, is executed by Barbara. Gordon, for his part, has a huge fight with Bullock and finally accepts the captain's position. In the end, Lee becomes the new queen of the Narrows, and Gordon confronts Sophia, realizing he's been manipulated all along so she could get what she wanted. He ends their relationship on the spot. Professor Pig strikes again, serving poisoned food to the homeless, and then, well, let's just say he starts harvesting parts of their bodies. At the precinct, the atmosphere is tense with Gordon taking over Bullock's old office. Sophia Falcone is preparing a charity event when Penguin shows up, furious about Gordon's promotion and demanding to know who authorized it, as the mayor has vanished. Pig continues sending gifts to Gordon. This time, a tent with 2 bodies being eaten by pigs in front of the precinct. Meanwhile, Bruce is in the throes of his rebellious phase. Alfred tries to remind him of their annual tradition of hiking up a hill, but it's no use. Lucius Fox discovers a clue on the bodies. They were full of material used to make paper. Gordon and Detective Harper investigate an abandoned factory, but it's a trap. Pig kidnaps Harper and escapes. Later, Pig shows up at Sophia's event disguised as a chef, serving meat pies made from you-know-who. Up on the hill, Alfred tells a story about Thomas Wayne, but Bruce distracts him, steals the car keys, and flees. Back at the party, Gordon arrives but is knocked out by Pig and tied up in the pantry. Pig then reveals his macabre menu to Gotham's elite, threatening to kill little Martin if no one eats. Penguin, protecting the boy, kills one of the guests who disrespects him. When all seems lost for Harper, Gordon shows up and sets her free. He had tricked Pig and managed to escape. The two storm the ballroom and fight Pig on top of the dinner table in a chaotic scene that ends with the villain defeated and arrested. After the chaos, Penguin warns Sophia that Gordon cannot remain captain. At Wayne Manor, Bruce throws a party, and after everyone leaves, has a nasty fight with Alfred, delivering the coldest possible line, "Be my butler, not my father." To end the night, Gordon visits Sophia and they kiss. Martin sees everything and tells Penguin, who with tears in his eyes, sentences, "She's going to pay." At Arkham Asylum, Professor Pig is channeling some serious Hannibal Lecter vibes, listening to Ave Maria on a gramophone. The piece is shattered when another inmate freaks out over the music, which brings back bad memories. Pig doesn't hesitate. He breaks a vinyl record and uses a shard to silence the guy for good, a very creative way to ask for quiet. Meanwhile, Gordon and Lucius Fox try to identify Pig, but the man has had so much plastic surgery that his face is an unsolvable puzzle. To make Gordon's life worse, Sophia Falcone shows up wanting to continue their romance but gets ethically shut down. Over in the Narrows, Dr. Lee Tompkins has become the de facto sheriff, complete with an impromptu courtroom. She immediately clashes with a gangster named Samson. The soap opera drama continues when Penguin tries to torture Sophia, but she turns the tables and escapes escapes, only to be kidnapped by the sirens. Penguin then learns from Martin that Sophia lied about the kiss with Gordon. Speaking of lies, Lee and Nigma trick Samson, telling him his bronchitis is something much worse. Gordon manages to get a southern accent out of Pig, a small victory. Penguin, trying to rescue Sophia, sends Zaz with a bazooka after the sirens, who narrowly escape.
I'm gonna break his little beak in half.
Gordon makes a deal with Penguin to get Sophia out of Gotham, but the plan falls apart. Sophia kidnaps Martin and uses the boy as a hostage. Penguin pretends to surrender, grabs Martin, puts him in a car, and it all explodes, declaring all-out war. However, we discover that Martin is alive. It was all part of Penguin's plan to start the war. To top it off, Nigma starts hallucinating the Riddler, and Pig escapes from Arkham, leaving a bloody message on the wall. The city is in chaos. Gordon finds a survivor of Professor Pig's surgeries, while the gang war between Sophia and Penguin erupts across Gotham. Suddenly, who shows up? Carmine Falcone. He's furious with his daughter, both for the chaos and for her involvement with Gordon. Carmine strikes a deal with Penguin to get Sophia out of the city for good, but during the farewell, a van appears out of nowhere and guns everyone down. In the confusion, Carmine Falcone is killed, and Sophia takes a bullet to the stomach. Obviously, everyone thinks it was Penguin. At the funeral, Sophia decides to deliver the final blow. She accuses Penguin of killing Martin, and to everyone's surprise, Victor Zsasz, Penguin's right-hand man, confirms the story. It's a Gotham-style et tu, Brute moment. Penguin is arrested and Sophia, victorious, returns the Iceberg Lounge to the sirens. Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne is in his playboy phase and has a huge fight with Alfred. Things get so heated that Alfred ends up punching Bruce, who leaves in a rage. But the big reveal comes now. Gordon visits Sophia and finds her with none other than Professor Pig. She confesses everything. She hired Pig, faked her father's death, and staged her own injury to frame Penguin, all for revenge. To make matters worse, she kills Pig in front of Gordon and blackmails him. Either he takes the credit for killing the villain and becomes the hero the city needs, or she exposes the truth and Gotham plunges into chaos. Gordon accepts the dirty deal. Bruce fires Alfred, Grundy remembers he's Butch, Bullet quits the force, and Penguin, at rock bottom in Arkham, comes face to face with Jerome Valeska. All hell is about to break loose. Gordon is at a low point, searching for Harvey Bullock in a brothel, but only finds the ghost of his former partner. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a group of junkies breaks into a lab and finds something bizarre. Ivy Pepper, emerging from a cocoon, completely transformed. Not only does she have a new look, but also a deadly touch, which she tests on the first person who tries to touch her. Far from the luxury of the manor, Alfred is now living in the Narrows and starts his day trading blows with some thugs. Dr. Lee nearly gets blown up when an explosive toy airplane is launched at her. Luckily, Grundy, who is starting to have flashes of his life as Butch, saves her at the last second. Alfred becomes the neighborhood hero and even befriends a waitress. The toy plane investigation leads Gordon and Fox to a crazed toy maker, Cosmo Crank. In parallel, the new Ivy, remembering the sirens are her enemies, goes to their club but is thrown out. Selina recognizes her, and the two form a dangerous alliance. Alfred's life turns into a nightmare when the waitress he met is found dead, and he becomes the prime suspect. He goes on the run and tracks down the woman's abusive boyfriend to serve his own brand of justice, but who shows up to save the day and arrest the culprit? Good old Harvey Bullock. Gordon's investigation reveals that the attack's real target was Lee. Nigma discovers that the Riddler, his other personality, hired the killer without his knowledge. Gordon confronts and kills Crank, but Nigma hides his involvement. In the end, Gordon tries to convince Bullock to return to the force, but he refuses. Harvey is now a bartender, and the old detective duo seems to have reached its end. Ivy, now a full-blown defender of plant life, discovers that Wayne Enterprises is conducting sinister experiments in something called Project M. Basically, they're killing a ton of plants, and she is furious. Things get so serious that she takes out a Wayne employee, and Selina, horrified to see her friend turn into an eco-terrorist, bails. The friendship is over. Later, Ivy tracks down Bruce and, in a classic comic book villain move, gives him a kiss that both hypnotizes and poisons him. The result? Bruce begins a psychedelic trip, seeing friends, allies, and a mysterious cloaked figure. This phantom reveals itself to be a part of Bruce, born from the pain and grief of his parents' death. It's like a forced and very, very weird therapy session. While Bruce is in his own multiverse of madness, Ivy hypnotizes Lucius Fox and forces him to take her to the secret lab. There, she steals a sample of the famous Lazarus water, but Jim Gordon, who seems to have a built-in villain GPS, finds them, rescues Fox, gets the antidote, and saves Bruce. The young Wayne, still high on the poison, believes he saw his own future. To complete her plan, Ivy uses the Lazarus water to create a new flower that kills instantly with a simple touch of its petals. Far away, in Arkham, Jerome is making Oswald's life a living hell, forcing him to endure all sorts of humiliations to drive him completely insane. But Oswald, who is no fool, discovers Jerome is planning a mass breakout to terrorize Gotham and decides he's going to hitch a ride on that chaos train to escape too. Bruce is in his darkest, most goth phase, burning his vigilante mask like a teenager ending a relationship. He even tries to talk to Alfred, but the butler is adamant. He'll only return when Master Bruce proves he's truly changed. Meanwhile, Ivy makes a grand entrance at a bar, using her plants to hypnotize everyone and show off her new powers. Lee Tompkins has a less than friendly meeting with Sophia Falcone, who wants a piece of the Narrows. The power struggle is just beginning. Gordon and the police investigate the bar incident, discovering Ivy is responsible and that her next target is Harvey Bullock as revenge for her father's death. Things get personal, and Ivy even hijacks a TV broadcast to send her message to all of Gotham. In the midst of all this, Nigma is in such a heavy internal battle with his Riddler persona that he considers getting rid of the problem in a very permanent way.
Okay, fine. You win. What? You win.
Gordon and Bullock find Ivy, but she uses her powers to escape and leaves Bullock under her control. Gordon is forced to fight his partner, knocking him out to break the spell. Later, at a charity event, Ivy crashes the party and turns the place into a garden of death. Bruce, wearing a bulletproof suit, saves a bunch of people before getting shot by Gordon and fleeing. Sophia's night is also eventful. After Lee refuses her offer, she simply smashes the doctor's hand with a hammer and takes control of the Narrows. And when Nigma decides to return to Arkham, Oswald reappears and reveals he manipulated everything to make this happen. The Penguin is always playing 4D chess. With Bullock back, Gordon swears he will take Sophia down. Nigma, more Riddler than ever, manipulates the boy Martin into killing his protectors and then takes him away. Elsewhere in the city, a lighter mood. Bruce and Selina finally make peace after he helps her with a debt. Bullock, acting like a proper detective, discovers that Penguin's accountant, Arthur Penn, was actually a double agent working for Sophia. Upon learning Martin is missing, Sophia loses her patience and sends Zsasz and the headhunter to eliminate Penguin in Arkham, but they arrive too late. Bullock tries to stop them, but Penguin has already escaped with Nigma's help. Now, Penguin, Nigma, and Lee form an unlikely alliance to take down Sophia. The plan, however, hits a snag when Nigma tries to recruit Grundy and discovers he's regained his memory. Grundy knocks Nigma out and delivers him to Barbara and Tabitha. The action doesn't stop. Gordon and Bullock arrest Penn but end up in a shootout with Zsasz and Headhunter, giving Lee and Penguin the perfect chance to escape. Their plan? Freeze Penguin in a block of ice and deliver him to Sophia like a Trojan horse. The plan works. While Sophia tortures Nigma, the block of ice is delivered. She orders the Riddler's death and leaves, but a timer melts the ice and Penguin escapes. Gordon and Bullock find Penn at a spa, but Sophia arrives with guns blazing. Bullock flees with the accountant, but Gordon is shot multiple times by Sophia herself. As she's about to deliver the final blow, Lee appears and shoots her in the head. Penguin manages to save Nigma just in time. Gordon wakes up in the hospital to find Sophia in a coma. Bullock convinces him not to confess, and Lee retakes the Narrows by crushing the new boss's hand. To cap it all off, Barbara's hand begins to glow, and Ra's al Ghul appears before her. Tetch, the Mad Hatter, uses his hypnosis to take a stroll out of Arkham, and he doesn't go alone. He takes Jonathan Crane, aka Scarecrow, and everyone's favorite lunatic, Jerome Valeska, with him. For good measure, they also free 84 other inmates, turning the asylum into an open-door party. Gordon and Bullock investigate the breakout and receive a call from Tetch, who lures them into a trap. There, a hypnotized crowd immobilizes the detectives, while the Hatter, in a plan worthy of a Looney Tunes cartoon, uses a wrecking ball to crush a couple. It's grim. Meanwhile, Barbara has a flashback to when Ra's al Ghul resurrected her, revealing he saw her as his true heir. Bruce, in his Batman in training mode, gets Jerome's file with Selina's help and goes to his uncle's diner. But Jerome has already arrived and is settling scores for the abuse he suffered. The uncle tries to be clever and throws hot soup in Jerome's face. Bruce gets involved in the fight, and in the chaos, Jerome kills his uncle after finding out the whereabouts of someone he's looking for. Selina shows up to try and take Jerome out for good, but Bruce stops her, feeling responsible for the mayhem. Back in the city, Gordon and Bullock discover Tech has hypnotized the public via the radio, and now everyone is about to jump off buildings. Bullock tries to trace the signal and ends up hypnotized himself. Gordon storms the station, stops Tech, and in a brilliant move, uses a loophole in the hypnosis to make the citizens save each other. To end on a high note, members of the League of Shadows show up looking for Barbara. The men refuse to follow a woman, but the League's female assassins don't think twice. They kill the chauvinists and kneel before their new leader. And the truck taking Tech back to Arkham, it's intercepted by Jerome and Crane. The villain's party is just getting started. Here, Lee Tompkins decides she's had enough of games and challenges Nigma at his own riddle factory. She not only beats him at his own game, but the contest ends with a kiss. Meanwhile, Jerome Valeska assembles his own evil version of the Avengers, the Legion of Horribles. The team is stacked: Penguin, Mad Hatter, Scarecrow, Firefly, and Mr. Freeze. Their mission? To find a mysterious man named Xander Wilde. The squad storms a Wayne Enterprises building, guns blazing, but their target isn't there.
Where is Xander Wilde? He's not here. Yeah, I'm not blind.
Gordon and the police arrive, forcing the villains to flee. With a little help from Bruce, Gordon and Bullock finally find this Wilde. Xander is actually Jeremiah Valeska, Jerome's twin brother, and what's more, he was the one who had Jerome committed in the first place. But the relief is short-lived, as Mad Hatter and Scarecrow soon show up and rescue their boss. To complete the team, Penguin convinces Grundy to become the Legion's official muscle. Scarecrow creates a brand new laughing gas, custom-made for Jerome to spread throughout the city. Gotham's original Joker's plan is about to make everyone laugh to death. Jerome Valeska decides he wants some attention and kidnaps a bunch of Gotham's VIPs, including the mayor and the police commissioner. He crashes a music festival and turns the event into his personal stage, threatening to kill everyone if Bruce Wayne and his brother Jeremiah don't show up, but this is all just a distraction. The real plan is much worse. The rest of the Legion of Horribles are on a blimp, ready to dump laughing gas on the entire city. Penguin thinks this is too crazy and tries to back out, but he gets knocked out and thrown onto the blimp as a forced passenger. Bruce and Jeremiah agree to help the police, forming Gotham's strangest duo. While the GCPD saves the mayor, Penguin wakes up on the blimp, calls Jim Gordon, and the two become the most unlikely pair of heroes in history, managing to divert the blimp into the river and save the city. Gordon pursues Jerome to a rooftop and shoots him. The villain is left dangling, and when Gordon tries to save him, Jerome delivers his final speech, saying his legacy of madness will live on, and lets go, falling to his death. He chose to die a legend rather than be captured. Meanwhile, in the assassin subplot, Barbara argues with Tabitha over her destiny talk. The conflict ends with Tabitha being kidnapped by another faction of the League, and just when we think the danger is over, Jeremiah arrives home to find a gift from his brother, a jack-in-the-box that explodes laughing gas in his face. Jerome is gone, but it seems he just created his successor. Edward Nigma has decided to become Gotham's Robin Hood, only in a much more flamboyant way. He masterminds a series of bank robberies on the same night, but instead of keeping the cash, he distributes it to the people of the Narrows. A hero of the people? Maybe, but Oswald arrives to throw a wrench in the romance, claiming Lee Tompkins is just using Nigma and manipulating his feelings. Nigma pretends to fall for Oswald's line and promises to include him and Solomon Grundy in his next crime, which would end with Lee's death. But it's a trick. Nigma betrays the pair and locks them in a bank vault. Apparently, this whole thing was a bank-robbing serenade to make Lee fall in love with him. How romantic. When the police arrive, Lee turns herself in to ensure Nigma can escape. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Tabitha Galavan is playing Frankenstein with a faction of the League of Shadows. The plan? To resurrect Ra's al Ghul. To do this, they use Selina Kyle to capture Bruce Wayne, and the boy's blood serves as a mystical catalyst to bring the big boss back to life. Ra's returns and is not pleased to see Barbara Keene with the power of the demon's head, finding her ambitions rather petty. After a grim vision of Tabitha's death, Barbara relinquishes the power to save her friend. Barbara and Tabitha make peace, and the League's warriors remain loyal to them. Finally, Ra's al Ghul has a vision of a catastrophe that will transform Bruce into a Dark Knight. It seems he's bought a front-row ticket to that show. Following orders that seem to come from beyond the grave, Jerome Valeska's followers dig up his body and bring it to the GCPD precinct to hold a wake. Totally normal. Things get so out of control that Jim Gordon orders the police to fall back and surround the building, treating the situation like a quarantine for lunatics. In the middle of this mess, Edward Nigma infiltrates the precinct to rescue Lee Tompkins, who was left behind in the evacuation. A true chaotic knight in shining armor. Across town, Oswald and Grundy are doing the dirty work, torturing one of Jerome's acolytes to find out who's really in charge and maybe reclaim some of their lost power. Far from the chaos, Jeremiah Valeska welcomes Bruce Wayne into his high-tech bunker. He shows off a self-sustaining energy generator and reveals he's fighting for his own sanity after inhaling his brother's laughing gas. Jeremiah is so paranoid that he believes Jerome is still alive. To prove him wrong, Bruce takes him to the grave, only to find the coffin empty and the grave dug up. Gordon goes to Jeremiah's bunker but is subdued and forced to watch a video where Jeremiah himself reveals he is the maestro behind the day's chaos. He has turned the energy generator into a bomb.
See, those generators that we built with your money, they work even better as bombs.
And Gordon barely escapes the explosion. The tables have turned. Jeremiah finally shows his true colors to Bruce, knocks him out, and takes the opportunity to steal more of these generators from Wayne Enterprises. The clown has changed, but the circus is still on fire. Jeremiah Valeska isn't messing around. He places generator bombs all over Gotham and gives the citizens a 6-hour ultimatum to evacuate the city. It's basically a get out or get fried situation. But before being knocked out in an explosion, Jim Gordon managed to grab the schematics for the plan. He's rescued by Lee and Nigma, and this unlikely duo starts trying to save the day. To make matters worse, Jeremiah kidnaps Alfred to use as bait for Bruce. He uses Scarecrow's fear gas to make Bruce hallucinate that Alfred has gone mad and attacked him, forcing the boy to kill his own butler. Heavy stuff. But Selina Kyle shows up like a hero, frees the real Alfred, and shows Bruce he fell for a twisted trick. Meanwhile, Oswald and Grundy team up with Barbara and Tabitha to face off against Jeremiah. They discover the bombs are linked to a central relay and try to blackmail the villain, but Jeremiah is unpredictable. Instead of paying the ransom, he blows up the relay himself and reprograms the bombs to detonate in sequence. His plan B is always more chaos. Gordon and Nigma decipher the schematics and realize the bombs were positioned to create a labyrinth out of the city's rubble. Gordon knocks Nigma out, takes the plans to the GCPD, and with Lucius Fox's help, Harvey Bullock manages to disarm the first bomb at the last second. Jeremiah's plan seems to have failed, but then Ra's al Ghul appears and proposes an alliance, and to top it all off, Jeremiah invades Wayne Manor and shoots Selina. Selina Kyle ends up in the hospital with a shattered spine, while Jeremiah Valeska is arrested and thrown into a cell at the GCPD. But the peace is short-lived, as Ra's al Ghul decides to set his evil plan in motion. He kidnaps Bruce Wayne, breaks Jeremiah out of jail, and, for good measure, steals the energy bombs again. It seems true villains recycle their plans. Meanwhile, Jim Gordon is captured by Nigma, who has a crazy idea to kill him to free Lee from her feelings for Jim. But Lee is smarter and tricks Nigma, convincing him that she's already over Gordon. The plan works, and Jim is released after Lee promises to leave Gotham with the Riddler. On the other side of town, Penguin hires Hugo Strange to cure Butch. In the midst of all this chaos, he joins forces with Barbara, Tabitha, and Alfred to take on Ra's and the League of Shadows. During the battle, Barbara stabs Ra's with his own dagger, but with a twist. She ensures Bruce's hand is also on the hilt, making him the official killer. And then, chaos. The bombs explode, destroying all the bridges and turning Gotham into an isolated island. Strange manages to turn Butch back to normal, but the joy is short-lived. Penguin kills Butch in front of Tabitha as revenge for his mother's death, and then shoots Tabitha, though not fatally. Seeing the city descend into pandemonium, Lee gives up on leaving and breaks up with Nigma. The encounter turns into a nasty fight, and they end up stabbing each other. With the city lawless, villains begin to claim their territories. enemies. Jim, Bruce, and a group of good guys decide to stay and fight. In the end, Gordon and Bruce meet and light up a giant spotlight in the sky like a signal of hope. We start with a flash forward to day 391, and the scene is insane. Jim Gordon, Harvey, Penguin, and Nigma, all fighting together against militants armed to the teeth, an alliance no one saw coming. But back in the present, it's day 87. Gotham has been officially abandoned by the government, becoming a no man's land. The villains had a field day and divided the city. Penguin took City Hall, Barbara and the Sirens got their nightclub district, and Scarecrow claimed another part. Mr. Freeze and Firefly are in a gang war, and the weirdest part, no one knows where Jeremiah has gone. The GCPD has become a refugee shelter, but food and supplies are running out. Bruce and Gordon team up to try and clean up the city, while Penguin, ever the opportunist, starts selling faulty ammunition. To make things worse, Scarecrow and his gang steal the little food and medicine the police had left. With no other option, Bruce decides to play the role of a benevolent smuggler and organizes an illegal flight to bring in supplies. But Penguin, always greedy, tries to steal everything when the cargo lands. The confusion turns into a massive shootout that ends with Tabitha's death. Meanwhile, Nigma is freaking out. He's suffering from constant blackouts and waking up in random places with no memory of what happened. Across town, Selina remains paralyzed and, in despair, attempts to take her own life. A doctor suggests that Bruce seek out someone called the Witch to save her. To end the day, Gordon receives a message from a supposed ally, only to later find the map of territories scribbled over with ha 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 ha, a sign that there's another clown in this circus. Day 88. Bruce is on the hunt for the Witch, and guess who it is? Ivy. But she's in trouble too, captured by some thugs. Bruce, needing help, makes a deal. He frees her, and in exchange, she saves Selina. Ivy keeps her promise and gives Bruce a magic seed. But with a warning, the seed will heal Selina, but it will also change her forever. Selina eats the seed, miraculously walks again, but gains some feline-like abilities and mannerisms. The transformation has begun. Meanwhile, Gordon and Bullock find a runaway child who tells them she was enslaved by a gang. The two cops go after the thugs and manage to rescue all the children, sending them to a safe place. But there's no rest for Gordon. Penguin puts a price on his head, offering a reward for his death. And who shows up to save the day? Barbara, who gets Gordon out of a tight spot. Alliances in this city change faster than the Joker's mood. To complete the chaos, Nigma wakes up to find he has kidnapped a gangster who works for a gang called the Street Demons. The problem is, apparently, the guy's entire gang was wiped out by Penguin. The Riddler now has another mystery to solve, and he himself seems to be the prime suspect. Selina barely recovers, and instead of waiting to be discharged, she bolts from the hospital. She and Bruce team up to hunt Jeremiah in the city's dark zone, and they discover that Echo is acting as a sinister manager, recruiting people to work for him. Selina, not being a fool, pretends she wants to join the team to infiltrate their headquarters, but the plan goes south. A fight breaks out. Echo manages to escape, and in the confusion, Selina betrays Bruce and decides to go after Jeremiah on her own. Meanwhile, Penguin is having a terrible day. His henchmen have abandoned him and gone to the Haven, a supposedly safe shelter. Furious, he gathers a small army, invades the place, and captures Gordon and all the refugees. But the tables turn when the Street Demons show up, thinking Penguin was the one who killed their crew. They capture Penguin and eliminate the traitorous henchmen. This forces Penguin and Gordon to form an unlikely duo to survive. They manage to break free and take down the Street Demons. In a let-it-go moment, Gordon lets Penguin walk away, but seconds later, the Haven explodes out of nowhere, killing all the refugees. Someone hit the reset button, and it wasn't Gordon. After the Haven's destruction, Gordon and Penguin form Gotham's oddest couple to find who's responsible. The prime suspect is Victor Zsasz, but the guy swears up and down he's clean this time. Gordon captures Zsasz and asks Lucius to play CSI, Gotham, and find the evidence. During his search, Lucius runs into Nigma, who is completely lost and has mysterious numbers written on his hand. The two nerds team up, albeit reluctantly, and prove Zsasz is indeed innocent. Nigma discovers the numbers are the address of a witness who saw Nigma himself blow up the Haven. He recovers his memory of the event, and to tie up loose ends, erases the witness. Meanwhile, Penguin sets up a mock trial, and the survivors, driven by hatred, ignore the evidence and order Zsasz's death. Gordon and Bullock swoop in like heroes, rescue Zsasz, and set him free, which causes the refugees to turn against them. To drown his sorrows, Gordon gets drunk, reunites with Barbara, and they share a kiss. Across town, Bruce and Alfred finally find Selina, who manages to stab Jeremiah multiple times. Bruce and Alfred arrive just in time to rescue her. The cavalry finally arrives. Eduardo Dorrance, an old army buddy of Gordon's, shows up in Gotham with the military to restore order, or so it seems. Gordon discovers that it was Nigma who blew up the Haven, and the entire city starts a manhunt. On the run, Nigma begins having flashbacks to the night the bridges exploded, confronts Penguin, and learns that it was Hugo Strange who brought him back from the dead. Nigma confronts Strange, who reveals a plan worthy of a soap opera. He implanted a chip in Nigma's brain to control his mind. Gordon arrives just in time and discovers Nigma is innocent, as he was being controlled. But then Dorrance shows his true colors. He's the one behind the mind control. He activates the chip and turns the Riddler into his personal attack dog, forcing him to hunt Gordon. While this chaos unfolds, Selina has become the new queen of the underworld for, supposedly, killing Jeremiah. She's enjoying the fame, dismisses Bruce, and fully embraces the dark side. But elsewhere, Jeremiah wakes up, fully recovered from the stabbings. The wannabe Joker is back in the game. Things kick off with Gordon playing the hero and destroying the chip in Nigma's brain, who then undergoes surgery with Lucius to remove the device for good. But the peace doesn't last. Dorrance and his men invade and take over the GCPD like a hostile corporate takeover, but with more guns. To turn the tables, Gordon, Bruce, Alfred, Lucius, Nigma, and even Barbara form a sort of makeshift Justice League. The plan? Leak evidence of Dorrance's crimes to the press and take back the department. In the midst of the chaos, the final showdown between Gordon and Dorrance happens. The villain plays dirty, revealing he has Lee hostage. To make matters worse, he confesses he blew up Haven just to ensure the military would see Gotham as a lost cause. The revelation is a gut punch, but Gordon doesn't hesitate and impales the guy on a pipe. He takes Lee back to the GCPD, but Dorrance's boss, a woman named Teresa Walker, rescues the villain and takes him straight to Hugo Strange. And as if that weren't enough, she activates a second chip, this time in Lee's head. Luckily, Gordon manages to fry that one too. Meanwhile, Penguin and Selina form a partnership to get the hell out of Gotham. Their mission is to hunt down a thief named Magpie, who stole from Penguin. Alfred is kidnapped by Jeremiah, and Barbara reveals she's pregnant with Gordon's child. On the anniversary of Dwayne's death, Jeremiah decides to give Bruce a twisted gift. He arranges for 2 surgical lookalikes of Thomas and Martha Wayne, just to force Bruce to relive the trauma of his parents' death. The madman's idea is to create a connection with him. It's basically the most bizarre and cruel therapy session in history. Bruce and Alfred manage to escape just in time to see Jeremiah blow up Wayne Manor. Seeing the trouble, Selina ditches Penguin and runs to help Bruce. Meanwhile, Gordon and Lee discover that Jeremiah is brewing a toxin at Ace Chemicals. Upon arriving, the two fall into a trap and are hypnotized by the Mad Hatter. Jeremiah then takes the couple to Crime Alley, attempting to recreate the Wayne scene with Gordon and Lee. But, like true last-minute heroes, Bruce and Selina show up and save the pair. The villain doesn't give up and activates the toxin anyway, forcing Gordon into a race against time to dump it all into the Gotham River. The result? The water becomes so polluted that the government gives up on the city for good. At Ace Chemicals, an epic confrontation between Bruce and Jeremiah unfolds. In the end, Jeremiah falls into a vat of chemicals, becoming disfigured and brain-fried. To wrap things up, Barbara, thinking of her unborn child, makes a truce with Penguin and Nigma, who are planning to escape Gotham in a submarine they built themselves. Alfred is having a major crisis of conscience, blaming himself for the mansion's destruction. To clear their heads, Bruce and Alfred decide to help a woman whose husband disappeared in the sewers. The mission turns into a monster movie when they discover mutated creatures living down there. Across town, Gordon and Bullock investigate the murder of 2 ex-cops, which leads them to Dix, Harvey's old partner. They dig up an old case involving a woman named Victoria Cartwright and her daughter Jane, who is now a shapeshifter created by none other than Hugo Strange. Guess what? The killer is Jane Doe herself. Back in the sewers, Alfred and Bruce face one of the creatures and manage to save a man named Hank. Elsewhere, Oswald and Edward have to deal with the return of Penn, who is now under the control of Scarface, the ventriloquist dummy. Things get tense and end with Penn's death. To finish, Jane Doe attacks the GCPD, impersonating impersonating Barbara and others to cause chaos. In the midst of the confusion, Harvey confesses his mistake in Jane's case years ago to Gordon. The news of the Chemical League hits like a bombshell and cancels Gotham's reunification. Oswald, trying to play diplomat, arranges a meeting to broker a ceasefire between the gangs, but the whole thing goes wrong, and Gordon ends up getting shot. A classic day in Gotham. While Gordon lies between life and death, tripping through a bizarre trial inside his own head, the mustached Bullock takes control of the GCPD, showing everyone who's boss. Across town, Ivy, the Queen of Plants, decides to make an appearance. She kidnaps Bruce and hypnotizes him into shutting down the city's water filtration system. Her plan, basically to turn Gotham into a giant toxic garden. But Selina, always showing up at the right time, confronts Bruce and snaps him out of his trance. Together, the two race against the clock and manage to prevent the disaster, saving the city from drinking water with a hint of poison. In the end, Gordon survives by a thread and, to top it off, marries Lee. But it's not all sunshine and roses. Barbara, realizing Gordon might want to take her baby, decides it's time to skip town and disappear from Gotham before things get worse. Straight from the shadows, Bane finally appears, transformed by Walker into a walking destruction machine. His calling card is a direct assault on the reunification reception, with Bane and Jim Gordon in the line of fire. The chaos has barely begun, and high-ranking officials are already targets. Meanwhile, Nissa Al Ghul enters the scene and lays out the truth. She is Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and she's here for revenge against Bruce Wayne. But her main target is Barbara Keene, who is kidnapped in the middle of giving birth. Yes, in Gotham, even childbirth isn't a moment of peace. In the midst of all this, Barbara still finds time to steal a part from Penguin and Riddler's submarine, creating a side conflict over the component. Things get even more serious when Nissa confronts Bruce and reveals that Eduardo Dorrance was reborn as Bane in the Penaduro prison, and her ultimate plan, to declare war on Gotham using the US Army as her personal plaything. The city is about to be bombed, Barbara and the baby are hostages, and Gordon has been captured. Basically, everything has gone wrong. Gotham is literally on fire under Nissa and Bane's attack. Seeing how bad things have gotten, Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle take drastic action. They use the core of Jeremiah's bomb to demolish Wayne Enterprises, creating a barrier of rubble to hold back the army. Nothing like imploding a skyscraper to solve a problem. At the GCPD, Gordon leads a desperate resistance, but hope is reborn when ordinary citizens unite, forming a human shield against the soldiers. It's the people against the army. Selina goes after Bane and, in a brilliant move, uses a device that attracts a swarm of bats to the villain, giving him a taste of what's to come. Even Penguin and the Riddler, after much internal squabbling, decide they'd rather have a city to rule and join Gordon in the fight. Nissa is ultimately defeated by Barbara and Gordon, who finally rescue the baby. With the dust settling, Bruce leaves a letter for Alfred and disappears into the world, ready for his intense training. Gordon is promoted to commissioner, and Oswald and Edward forge a dark alliance, ready to take over the underworld. Reunification finally begins, but in Gotham, peace is just the interval between wars. 10 years have passed, and Gotham has changed. Bruce Wayne is finally back in town after a decade of traveling the world. Meanwhile, Commissioner Jim Gordon is ready to hang up his badge and retire. On the same day, Oswald Cobblepot the Penguin is about to be released from Blackgate Prison after serving his sentence. All of this is happening just in time for the gala celebrating the opening of the new Wayne Tower. The mayor, not wanting to miss a photo op, informs Gordon that his retirement will have to wait until after the event. Meanwhile, we learn that Edward Nigma has spent the last decade locked up in Arkham, and Jeremiah Valeska is apparently in a vegetative state, completely unresponsive. But the calm doesn't last. Two mysterious figures help Nigma escape, while Echo goes and frees Valeska. Investigating the escape, Harvey Bullock is set up. A guard hands him a phone and then kills himself. Suddenly, Bullock is accused of the murder, and he confesses. Gordon doesn't buy it and decides to investigate on his own. That's when he runs into a vigilante in a bat-like suit who tells him he's not an enemy. At the Wayne Tower Gala, Penguin tries to kill Gordon for revenge, but the commissioner manages to escape. There, Selina Kyle and Barbara Keene discover Nigma's plan to blow up the building and stop him. Gordon realizes there's a second bomb, which Leslie Tompkins deactivates at the last second. That's when it clicks. Valeska set everything up to frame Nigma and Bullock. The mysterious vigilante, who Lucius Fox and Alfred know as Bruce, captures Nigma and Cobblepot. But Valeska makes his final move. He kidnaps Gordon and Barbara's daughter, and in the struggle, Echo is killed. The confrontation takes place at Ace Chemicals, where Valeska reveals he was faking the vegetative state all along, just waiting for Bruce's return. The hero arrives, defeats Valeska, and saves Gordon and the baby. Later, Bruce meets Selina again and apologizes for leaving her. Penguin and Nigma escape and, though afraid, plot their revenge against the Vigilante. Gordon gives up on retiring and lights the spotlight on the roof of the GCPD. P, Bullock, and Alfred see the hero's silhouette in the distance. When Bullock asks who he is, Gordon simply replies, "A friend."
Who is he?
Friend.